Chapter 441. Lord Lu Xing, please forgive this Jin Feng for being disrespectful to you a while ago. Jin Feng suddenly walked forward, placed his left hand on his right chest, lowered his head and spoke respectfully. When Jin Feng found out that Qin Yu was able to easily subdue a 7-star Emperor-level metal beast, he came to a complete realization. Such an expert was not someone that he, a cultivator that was not even at the Emperor level, could compare with. Lord Lu Xing, please forgive us. Jin Feng's two brothers also said respectfully. Elder Lu Tong looked to Qin Yu and asked, Lord Lu Xing, did Jin Feng and them offend you? If Jin Feng and them have offended Lord in any way, please forgive them. Elder Lu Tong also respectfully requested. In the Dark Star realm, powerful strength determined one's status. After absorbing Su Zong's memories, Qin Yu knew about some of the rules of the Dark Star realm very well. Immediately, he smiled carelessly and said, Village Chief Jin Feng, you do not have to mind it too much. Back then, you were only blinded by hatred because your fellow villagers were killed. I am able to understand. Lord Lu Xing, Jin Feng was moved. He still remembered the attitude he had toward Qin Yu in the mulberry receiving village. Never would he have expected that the Honorable Lord Lu Xing would be this broad-minded. Qin Yu felt helpless in his heart. He looked to Elder Lu Tong and said, Elder, I have something that I need your help with. Of course, before I help you, would you mind coming to the mulberry receiving village with me? I would like to bid farewell to the girl who led me back then. Lord Lu Xing, please. Elder Lu Tong stood beside Qin Yu. He even stood slightly behind him. His respect for Qin Yu could be seen from a single glance. Soon after, Qin Yu, Si Su, Lu Tong and his third brother flew toward the mulberry receiving village not far from here. At this moment, practically everyone in the mulberry receiving village was on high alert. They were worried that the group of metal beasts would attack their village. Seeing Si Su's arrival, those alert cultivators immediately spread the news throughout the entire village. Immediately, over 1,000 people from the mulberry receiving village rushed out. Among them was Xiaoya. Aya. The golden-haired girl who had suspected Qin Yu pulled Xiaoya's arm. The golden-haired girl gently pointed at Qin Yu who was flying over from afar. Look, that's the elder. Elder seems to be rather respectful towards Lord Lu Xing. Xiaoya didn't know why, but she had a bad feeling in her heart. However, she still said to her good friend who had grown up with her, Li Exen, Lord Lu Xing told me before that he came to find the elder. Elder Lu Tong monitored the entire deep mulberry star. He had also appeared in the 8 villages several times. Almost everyone on the deep mulberry star knew of this strongest protector of the deep mulberry star. Greetings, Lord Elder. The cultivators of the mulberry receiving village saluted respectfully. Elder Lu Tong flew to the front and said to the group of people below, This is Lord Lu Xing. Lord Lu Xing is about to leave this place. Before he leaves, Xiaoya. Qin Yu suddenly called out. This girl by the name of Xiaoya was tenacious, hardworking and optimistic. Qin Yu was very fond of her in his heart. Of course, it was only a kind of fondness for a younger sister. Now that he was about to leave, he had to bid farewell to her. Otherwise, Qin Yu would feel uncomfortable in his heart. Lord Lu Xing, are you about to leave? Xiaoya's heart was in a mess. Very rarely did Xiaoya worship someone. When she saw that Qin Yu was able to kill 3 king-level metal beasts with a raise of his hand, she began to worship Qin Yu in her heart. In her heart, Qin Yu was very strong and very perfect. Right, I am about to leave. Qin Yu nodded his head and said. Immediately after, he raised the Emperor-level metal beast. Under the grasp of Qin Yu, this 7-star Emperor-level metal beast was unable to resist at all. Before I leave, I have a gift for you. Qin Yu said with a smile. Gift. Xiaoya was slightly startled. At this moment, Elder Lu Tong seemed to have guessed what Qin Yu was planning to do. He immediately sent a voice transmission. Lord Lu Xing, no matter what, this Emperor-level metal beast cannot be allowed to live. It must be killed. In the Dark Star realm, the dangers of Emperor-level metal beasts are too great, truly too great. Everyone in the Dark Star Realm who sees Emperor-level metal beasts must do their best to kill them. No matter what, they must not be allowed to have the opportunity to destroy our origin movement star. Qin Yu was slightly startled. He had captured this metal Emperor-level metal beast himself. Originally, he had wanted to tame this metal Emperor-level metal beast and then gift it to Xiaoya. Although it was difficult for others to tame Emperor-level metal beasts, Qin Yu was still capable of doing so. However, it would appear now that the Dark Star Realm simply did not allow Emperor-level metal beasts to live. That's simple. Qin Yu smiled. Immediately after, he was about to kill this 7-star Emperor-level metal beast. However, right at this moment, "You'd best not kill me. Else, my brothers will not let you get away with it." That 7-star Emperor-level metal beast stared fiercely at Qin Yu. Its ice-cold eyes were filled with hatred. Qin Yu was slightly startled. This 7-star Emperor-level metal beast had brothers? However, with his strength, how could he possibly be afraid of a mere metal beast? Junior Leopard, could it be that you think that your brothers are a match for me? Qin Yu replied with a voice transmission. The 7-star Emperor-level metal beast was slightly startled. For Qin Yu to be able to subdue it so easily, his strength was evidently unfathomable. A snap sound was heard. The 7-star Emperor-level metal beast's neck was directly snapped by Qin Yu's hand. Immediately after, a golden energy shot out from Qin Yu's hand and a golden core flew out. A 7-star Emperor-level golden core. The eyes of countless people in the Mulberry receiving village shone. An Emperor-level golden core was something that was hard to come by even in a million years. Even Elder Lu Tong was somewhat moved. Qin Yu smiled lightly and said to Lu Tong, "Elder Lu Tong, you should know how precious this 7-star Emperor-level golden core is. As for the liquid within this golden core, you should wait until Xiaoya's strength is sufficient before letting her consume it. As for this 7-star Emperor-level metal beast's corpse, I'll give it to you." Lu Tong became excited. "Thank you, Lord Lu Xing." Lu Tong looked at the corpse of the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast and his eyes shone. To Emperor-level experts, golden cores were becoming less and less useful. For 1-star and 2-star Emperor-level experts, golden cores were still somewhat attractive to them. To a 4-star Emperor-level expert like Elder Lu Tong, ordinary golden cores were simply not attractive. Even a 7-star Emperor-level golden core was only slightly attractive to him. What truly attracted Lu Tong was the corpse of the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast. The reason why metal beasts were called metal beasts was because their bodies were made of metal. When metal beasts were born, although their bodies were made of metal, their bodies were incomparably agile. When a metal beast died, its body would harden and completely transform into metal ores. The hardness of the metal ores that the corpse of a 7-star Emperor-level metal beast turned into was something that one could well imagine. Even if it was not tempered and refined, a weapon made from the corpse of a 7-star Emperor-level metal beast would still be extremely sharp and durable. Once the weapon was tempered, the hardness of the weapon would be close to that of a low-quality divine artifact. Lord Lu Xing, thank you. Xiaoya wanted to say something. However, in the end, she didn't say anything. Work hard. Qin Yu encouraged her. After that, Qin Yu turned around and looked to Elder Lu Tong. "Elder, let us return to your elder's palace first." Elder Lu Tong nodded his head. After storing the corpse of the metal beast into his interspatial ring, he set off together with Qin Yu. Seeing the backs of Qin Yu and Lu Tong as they soared through the sky and left, Xiaoya merely bit her lips. "Little Ya, Lord Lu Xing is too far away from us." Si Lu stroked Xiaoya's head and consoled her. Xiaoya merely stared at Qin Yu's disappearing silhouette. Her gaze was extremely firm. The elder's palace was located on top of a tall mountain. Qin Yu and Lu Tong followed an arc and rapidly shot toward the elder's palace at the peak of the mountain. The elder's palace was constructed by the people from the sacred planet. It was extremely luxurious. The elder's palace was not very big. It was composed of 2 palaces, one at the front and one at the back. Normally, the elders would live in the palace at the back. This time, I am truly grateful to Lord Lu Xing. Not only did he save me, he also saved the entire deep mulberry star. He even gifted me the corpse of the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast. Elder Lu Tong's face was glowing. Clearly, he was in a very good mood. Elder Lu Tong, to be honest, I have always been puzzled by one thing. Qin Yu muttered. As Elder Lu Tong spoke with Qin Yu, they entered the palace. The two of them sat on 2 chairs. Elder Lu Tong looked to Qin Yu and said, I am puzzled by one thing. What is it? Metal beast. Qin Yu had indeed been puzzled by this matter the entire time. And now, he asked. When I was bitterly training in the interstellar space, I had also discovered some uninhabited origin movement planets. However, those origin movement planets did not have metal beasts at all. Furthermore, there were only 3 great starfields in the dark star realm that were inhabited: the Gold Punishment Starfield, the Black Flame Starfield, and the White Profound Starfield. Among them, the origin movement planets of the Black Flame Starfield did not have metal beasts. Instead, they had blazing fire beasts. On the origin movement planets of the White Profound Starfield, they did not have metal beasts. Instead, they had frost beasts. I truly do not understand exactly what caused all of this. Qin Yu gasped in admiration. Elder Lu Tong started to laugh. Haha, Lord Lu Xing, if you were to ask the other elders, I reckon that 9 out of 10 elders would not know. However, I do know about this. Oh. Qin Yu looked to Elder Lu Tong. Qin Yu was merely asking. He did not expect that he would actually be able to find the answer. Elder Lu Tong gasped in admiration. The metal beasts, frost beasts, and blazing fire beasts are unique to the dark star realm. The reason for this is because of the conversion formation. Elder Lu Tong, are you talking about the conversion formation that converts elemental spirit energy into metal attribute energy? Qin Yu suddenly had a guess in his heart. Elder Lu Tong nodded and said, That's right. Actually, this is something that my teacher told me when I was on the sacred planet. Lord Lu Xing, I can tell you this. The metal beasts, frost beasts, and blazing fire beasts are all born from the world. For example, on the origin movement planets, in order to set up the metal attribute conversion formation, one must at least possess the strength of a king. Furthermore, one must have sufficient elemental spirit stones. However, ordinary infants and children are simply unable to set up a formation. Thus, we set up an enormous metal attribute conversion formation on the origin movement planets. This formation is constantly converting elemental spirit energy into metal attribute energy. This metal attribute energy is spread throughout the entire origin movement planet. Elder Lu Tong explained in detail. Qin Yu nodded. He knew about this. Elder Lu Tong continued. The metal attribute energy is not only absorbed by the cultivators on the origin movement planets. There is also some metal attribute energy that gathers and even forms metal beasts. As for why they are formed, I do not know either. However, I know the metal beasts are formed because of the metal attribute energy. Qin Yu immediately understood. Ah, I understand now. The blazing fire beasts on the origin movement planets of the Black Flame Starfield were formed because of the fire attribute conversion formation. The frost beasts of the White Mysterious Starfield follow the same principle. The reason why there is nothing on the origin movement planets of the other starfields, it is because there is no conversion formation. Everything suddenly became clear. However, after understanding this, Qin Yu was truly curious. How could a large amount of metal attribute energy be converted into metal beasts out of thin air? The mysteries of the universe are still not something that I can understand. Qin Yu could not help but sigh. Elder Lu Tong nodded and said, That's right. The universe is too mysterious. There are many things that cannot be understood at all. For example, why are metal beasts born? Why do they possess intelligence after breaking through to the Emperor level? It is truly mysterious. Qin Yu nodded. Then, he smiled at Elder Lu Tong and said, Elder Lu Tong, the reason why I came to look for you this time is because I have something that I need to trouble you with. Lord Lu Xing, feel free to speak. As long as I can help, I will definitely help. Elder Lu Tong was very straightforward. Qin Yu slowly said, "Elder Lu Tong, you should know that I am an interstellar cultivator. For so many years, I have been wandering the interstellar space. I have never cared about where I am. I have only been wandering around and constantly bitterly cultivating. However, 1,000 years ago, I discovered that I had reached a bottleneck. No matter what, I could not take another step forward. Therefore, I thought of a place that I have never been to before, the 18 Emperor-level trial Dark Stars. I am prepared to enter the 18 Emperor-level trial Dark Stars to undergo trials." Elder Lu Tong agreed and said, "Lord Lu Xing should go. The 18 Emperor-level trial Dark Stars are the fastest place to cultivate. I truly never would have imagined that even though Lord has reached such a level of strength, you have never gone to the trial Dark Stars. I have been wandering the interstellar space all these years and have never used the Stellar Identity Crystal. Back then, when I left my own planet, I had directly used greater teleportation to leave. I did not go to the Elder's Palace to obtain a Stellar Identity Crystal. Right now, I am prepared to use your Deep Mulberry Star's Stellar Identity Crystal." Qin Yu finally spoke of his purpose for coming. Qin Yu had learned about the existence of the Stellar Identity Crystal from Su Zong's memories. To be granted a Stellar Identity Crystal meant that one's strength had been acknowledged by the Elder's Palace. Generally, when cultivators left their own planets, they would go to the Elder's Palace to obtain a Stellar Identity Crystal. That was because only by possessing a Stellar Identity Crystal would one be able to enjoy some of the special treatment that the people of the Dark Star realm possessed. For example, entering the Dark Star Trial Dark Star, entering the Bewitching God Temple, becoming a god on the sacred planet and so on. All of these required proof of identity. However, there were also many proud and aloof people who simply disdained to obtain a Stellar Identity Crystal. They would train by themselves. As long as they had strength, they would have everything. When they truly needed a Stellar Identity Crystal, they could casually go to any planet and obtain one. As for those elders who received the aloof experts, they were also extremely happy. That was because it meant that a powerful expert had appeared on their planet. This would cause their planet's reputation to soar. "Lord Lu Xing, an expert like you is truly willing to accept our Deep Mulberry Star's Stellar Identity Crystal and become a member of our Deep Mulberry Star?" Elder Lu Tong had a pleasantly surprised expression on his face. Chapter 442. Seeing Lu Tong's expression, Qin Yu smiled and nodded. "That's right. Elder Lu Tong, I'll have to trouble you to bestow me a Star Identity Crystal." No trouble at all," said Elder Lu Tong while waving his hand. Lu Tong could already imagine that when Qin Yu's reputation spreads far and wide, when others mention the name Lu Xing, they would say, "Lord Lu Xing came from the Deep Mulberry Star." As an elder of the Deep Mulberry Star, he would also have a lot of face. He had also heard of many good friends of his. Elders from other planets had received interstellar cultivators and bestowed Star Identity Crystals to those interstellar cultivators. He never expected that he would also receive such a good opportunity. "Lord Lu Xing, please wait a moment." Lu Tong flipped his hand and took out a triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar. "What is this for?" Qin Yu looked at the triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar with a puzzled expression. He was able to sense that the triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar before him was emitting a special aura. Elder Lu Tong explained casually, "Lord Lu Xing, this is the first time you've been bestowed a Star Identity Crystal. Thus, you definitely don't know the procedure. This is a rule set by the Sacred Star. Thus, before being bestowed a Star Identity Crystal, you must pass through this crystal pillar's inspection." Inspection? What inspection? Qin Yu had a bad premonition in his heart. Could it be that this mysterious crystal pillar would be able to inspect his identity? Lu Tong smiled and said, "Lord Lu Xing, you don't have to worry. This triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar is used to inspect one's strength and energy. It can determine whether one is a king or an emperor. At the same time, it can also inspect one's energy attribute. I remember that tens of millions of years ago, there was once a person from the Devil Realm who wanted to disguise himself and enter the Dark Star Realm.
Oh.
Tens of millions of years ago, someone from the Devil Realm was discovered. Why did that person come to the Dark Star Realm? Asked Qin Yu. Elder Lu Tong said casually. I heard that person from the Devil Realm was a cultivator of the Devil Realm's Black Devil Path. The Black Devil Path cultivators are also body refiners. Although they are different from us, the difference is not too big. That Devil Realm expert wants to enter our 18 Emperor Grade Dark Stars for a trial. But to enter the 18 Emperor Grade Dark Stars, one must have a stellar identity crystal. Therefore, that Devil Realm expert wanted to get his hands on a celestial identity crystal, but was found out by this triangular crystal pillar. Is this crystal pillar so powerful? Qin Yu exclaimed, but he became cautious in his heart. Qin Yu was very confident in himself. After all of his energy was stored in his astral space. Moreover, just in case, Qin Yu had also trained in the techniques of the Gold Punishment sect, causing his body to produce the unique power of gold. But who knew what principle this crystal pillar was using to investigate? Perhaps it might be used to investigate some of the special characteristics of the people from the Dark Star Realm. Not knowing the principle behind this crystal pillar's examination, Qin Yu started to worry. However, at this point, Qin Yu could only brace himself and go forward. Lord Lu Xing, in merely a short moment, this crystal pillar will be able to detect Lord Lu Xing's school and cultivation level. Elder Lu Tong poured his power of gold into the triangular crystal pillar. Then, the triangular crystal pillar started to emit a faint misty radiance. Immediately after, a misty radiance covered Qin Yu's body. The triangular crystal pillar gradually started to shine. This feeling is quite comfortable. Although Qin Yu felt somewhat uneasy, he still felt as comfortable as a massage. Qin Yu asked, Elder Lu Tong, do you know how this crystal pillar inspects people? I do not know. This triangular crystal pillar is sent to every elder palace by the sacred planet. It has been passed down for countless years. However, it has never had a problem, said Lu Tong with certainty. Never had a problem. Hearing those words, Qin Yu's heart tightened. If I am to be discovered, it would appear that I can only use the final method. Qin Yu did not wish to use the final method. Not only was that method ruthless, it was also not safe. After a long while, Lord Lu Xing, it's done. Elder Lu Tong held the triangular crystal pillar in his hand and looked at it. Then, he looked at Qin Yu with an expression as if he had seen a ghost. Seeing Elder Lu Tong's expression, Qin Yu felt apprehensive. However, he still asked, Elder Lu Tong, what's wrong? Elder Lu Tong swallowed his saliva and stared at Qin Yu. Lord, how many Star Emperor level experts are you? Why are you asking this? Qin Yu said with a smile. Elder Lu Tong looked at Qin Yu with a somewhat fervent gaze. Lord Lu Xing, to be awarded the Star Identity Crystal, not only does it show one's identity, it also shows that one has been recognized by the Elder Palace. One must reach the high-level king level to be qualified to receive the Star Identity Crystal. This crystal pillar is used to inspect one's identity and strength. What is my strength? Qin Yu asked with a smile. Elder Lu Tong placed the crystal pillar in his hand. Lord Lu Xing, this crystal pillar's inspection of one's strength is very crude. King-level experts are separated into elementary, middle and high levels. Among them, the elementary levels are 1-star to 6-star king-level experts. The middle levels are 7-star to 12-star king-level experts. The high levels are 13-star to 18-star king-level experts. Emperor-level experts are also separated into elementary, middle and high levels. As for Lord Lu Tong stared at Qin Yu. You are a high-level Emperor-level expert. High-level Emperor level is high-level Emperor level. What is there to be surprised about? Qin Yu said with a light smile. Lu Tong said with disbelief. Lord Lu Xing, could it be that you don't know that ever since the previous Gold Punishment Lord ascended, it has been a very long time since a 15-star Emperor-level expert has appeared in our Dark Star Realm? 15-star Emperor level expert? What do you mean by that? Qin Yu was confused. Lu Tong immediately recalled that Qin Yu was an interstellar cultivator. He immediately explained. Our Dark Star realm has 3 great sovereigns. In order to become a candidate for the position of sovereign, one must at least reach 15-star Emperor level. However, our Gold Punishment sect, for some unknown reason, has never had a 15-star Emperor level expert appear in all these years. Thus, the position of Gold Punishment Lord has always been left vacant. Qin Yu lightly nodded his head. 15-star Emperor level experts were equivalent to level 8 Immortal Emperors, Demon Emperors. Qin Yu found it a bit hard to believe. In the enormous Dark Star realm, could it be that the Gold Punishment sect did not even have a 15-star Emperor level expert? Elder Lu Tong, not even a 15-star Emperor level expert? I do not believe it. Qin Yu shook his head and said. Elder Lu Tong also had a helpless expression. He nodded and said, I also do not understand. Back then, when I was still on the sacred planet, I learned from my teacher that in our Gold Punishment sect, other than His Majesty the Gold Punishment Lord, there were 2 other great experts. One was a 17-star Emperor level expert and the other was a 15-star Emperor level expert. I do not know what is going on right now, but there is actually not a single 15-star Emperor level expert. You're saying, there were many powerful experts in the past. Qin Yu discovered that this matter was a bit fishy. Elder Lu Tong continued. 17-star Emperor level is a level that is about to undergo the divine tribulation. That 17-star Emperor level expert might have already undergone the divine tribulation. However, what about that 15-star Emperor level expert? I am unable to believe that he managed to undergo the divine tribulation and ascend in such a short period of time. Sigh, forget about it. In any case, no 15-star Emperor level experts have appeared. This matter is also not something that I, an elder of a planet, can concern myself with. Lu Tong smiled. Qin Yu nodded his head. Exactly what sort of secrets were there in the Dark Star realm? Who knew? Lu Tong looked to Qin Yu. With a burning gaze, he said, Lord Lu Xing, you're a high-level Emperor-level expert. In other words, you're at least a 13-star Emperor-level expert. Lord Lu Xing, can you tell me whether or not you're a 15-star Emperor-level expert? 15-star Emperor level. Qin Yu knew his own strength very well. Merely by looking at his body, he could tell that he possessed the strength of a 15-star Emperor level expert. However, adding on his miraculous origin life energy, it was not impossible for Qin Yu to take on a 17 or 18-star Emperor level expert. Elder Lu Tong, just pretend that I'm not a 15-star Emperor level expert. Qin Yu said with a light smile. Pretend that. Lu Tong opened his eyes wide. From Qin Yu's words, he had determined that this interstellar cultivator before him should have reached 15-star Emperor level. 15-star Emperor level experts. Which one of them wasn't an outstanding character with a widespread reputation? Lord Lu Xing, I will not tell you. Seeing that Qin Yu trusted him so much, Elder Lu Tong felt proud in his heart. Suddenly, Elder Lu Tong thought of something and said in shock. Lord Lu Xing, you said that you've never entered the 18-trial Dark Star? That's right. Qin Yu nodded. Elder Lu Tong took a deep breath. He looked at Qin Yu and said, Lord Lu Xing, in the history of the Dark Star realm, there was a Gold Punishment Lord. At the beginning, he did not enter the 18 Emperor-level Dark Stars and merely drifted through the interstellar space to train. He was the same as Lord Lu Xing. That Gold Punishment Lord had reached the pinnacle of his cultivation. At the very most, he was able to reach 16-star Emperor level. That Gold Punishment Lord had once said that if one did not rely on the Dark Stars, it would be impossible for one to reach 17 or 18-star Emperor level. Qin Yu recalled what Yi Chu had said. According to the Gold Punishment Sect's cultivation method, if one did not rely on the gravitational force of the Dark Stars, 16 stars would be the peak. It would appear that what Yi Chu had said was correct. In the history of the Dark Star realm, only that Gold Punishment Lord managed to reach 16 stars without relying on the Dark Stars. The number of people who managed to reach 15 stars without relying on the dark stars could be counted with one's fingers. Never would I have imagined that I, Lu Tong, would be able to meet such a person today. Lu Tong was very excited. This was enough to be recorded in the annals of the Dark Star Realm. Qin Yu smiled. Elder Lu Tong, you don't have to announce this to the public. I also do not wish for the entire world to know about this. Elder Lu Tong nodded. To be able to obtain the confidence of such an expert, Elder Lu Tong was extremely moved. Elder Lu Tong, where's my star identity crystal? Are you not planning to give it to me? Qin Yu said jokingly. Elder Lu Tong started to laugh. My apologies, Lord Lu Xing. I was talking to you and forgot about the matter of bestowing the star identity crystal. Please wait a moment. As he said those words, Lu Tong flipped his hand and took out a 3-colored star diamond. He then placed the 3-colored star diamond into a depression at the bottom of the triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar. That depression was a perfect fit for a 3-colored star diamond. Lord Lu Xing, this crystal pillar will assimilate some information into the star identity crystal. Elder Lu Tong explained. After a short moment, the star identity crystal rolled out from the depression. Qin Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This dark star realm was truly miraculous. Lord Lu Xing, you only need to drip a drop of blood on this star identity crystal. This star identity crystal will assimilate into your palm. After it assimilates, you will naturally be able to use it. Elder Lu Tong handed the star identity crystal to Qin Yu with a smile. Qin Yu received the star identity crystal. After dripping a drop of blood on it, the star identity crystal directly assimilated into his body. So that's how it is. Qin Yu immediately understood. The usage of this star identity crystal was indeed simple. Qin Yu had obtained the star identity crystal. It could be said that his problem had been solved. What he needed to do now was to find an interstellar map that would lead him to the 18 Emperor-level dark stars and the bewitching God Temple. 18 Emperor-level dark stars. Qin Yu really wanted to go and experience them. Merely, Qin Yu was not in a hurry to ask Elder Lu Tong for an interstellar map. Thus, Qin Yu spent a day or two in the Elder's palace. He would frequently chat with this elder and learn about some of the secrets of the Dark Star Realm. On the 3rd day after Qin Yu arrived at the Elder's palace, Qin Yu and Elder Lu Tong were both in the palace. They were waiting for a group of people from the Gold Punishment Starfield's sacred planet. This group of people were called Law Enforcers. At the beginning, the Law Enforcers' responsibility was to hunt down and kill the Emperor-level metal beasts in the Dark Star Realm. Later on, not only did they have to hunt down and kill the Emperor-level metal beasts, they also had to hunt down and kill some of the deranged cultivators of the Dark Star Realm. After all, there were also some extremely wicked people among the cultivators of the Dark Star Realm. Sometimes, the damage caused by those people would be even more frightening than the Emperor-level metal beasts. This group of law enforcers had come to the deep Mulberry Star precisely because of the Emperor-level metal beasts. Elder Lu Tong, the information sent by the law enforcers is truly too frightening. 3 Emperor-level metal beasts had arrived on this planet. We have only killed one. What about the other 2? Qin Yu gasped in admiration. Elder Lu Tong nodded. According to the information sent by the law enforcers, there were 3 extremely powerful Emperor-level metal beasts. The weakest among them was a 7-star Emperor-level metal beast. The strongest among them was actually a 12-star Emperor-level metal beast. 12-star Emperor-level metal beasts. In the entire Dark Star Realm, there was not a single elder from the gravity-gathered planet that was a match for them. Qin Yu recalled that before the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast was killed by him, it had threatened him that its brothers would take revenge. 12-star? Revenge? Qin Yu did not care about it in the slightest. A 12-star Emperor-level metal beast was something that he could kill with a flip of his hand. What was there for him to be worried about? The law enforcers have arrived. Qin Yu suddenly raised his head and looked toward the sky. Elder Lu Tong also raised his head and looked toward the sky. He saw 6 figures rapidly flying toward the Elder's palace. The man leading the group was wearing a silver mask. His eyes were emitting a sharp radiance. Qin Yu raised his eyebrows. 15-star Emperor-level expert. 2 days ago, this elder Lu Tong had told him that there were no 15-star Emperor-level experts in the Gold Punishment sect, and that the position of the Gold Punishment Lord had always been vacant. Yet now, he saw a 15-star Emperor-level expert. Furthermore, they were law enforcers. This law enforcer group was very powerful. The leader possessed the strength of a 15-star Emperor-level expert. As for the other 5, not a single one of them possessed strength lower than 10-star Emperor level. The 6 law enforcers were all wearing black clothes. Other than the leader who wore a silver mask, none of the others wore masks. Merely, the gazes of the 6 law enforcers were relatively cold. The silver-masked man leading the group descended. His gaze was fixed on Qin Yu the entire time. "My name is Wen Feng. Who are you?" Lu Xing. Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. Chapter 443. You're very strong. The leader of the law enforcers, Wen Feng, said as he looked at Qin Yu. You're not bad either. Qin Yu swept his gaze at the 5 people behind Wen Feng and lightly nodded. The law enforcers truly live up to their reputation. No wonder you're able to cause those evil people to be so afraid. The 5 law enforcers behind Wen Feng all looked at Qin Yu. Their gazes were cold. At this moment, Elder Lu Tong immediately laughed and said, I am Elder Lu Tong of the Deep Mulberry Star. This is interstellar ascetic cultivator Lord Lu Xing. Lord Lu Xing is also from our Deep Mulberry Star. Interstellar ascetic cultivator. Wen Feng repeated. Then, he clenched his left hand into a fist and placed it on his right chest. He said respectfully, Wen Feng thanks Lu Xing for killing the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast. The 5 enforcers behind Wen Feng also bowed. Qin Yu lightly smiled and said, It was nothing. Oh, that's right. When I was killing that 7-star Emperor-level metal beast, that metal beast had sent me a sound transmission to threaten me. It said that if I killed it, its brothers would come back for revenge. The law enforcer Wen Feng slightly raised the corners of his mouth. It seemed as if he was smiling. I fear that 7-star Emperor-level metal beast's plan was wrong. I reckon that even if its 2 brothers were to join hands, they would still be far from being a match for you. Lu Xing. Qin Yu merely nodded his head slightly. The reason why he had stayed on the Deep Mulberry Star for a couple more days was because he was worried that the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast's brothers would come for revenge. That was why he had stayed for a couple more days. According to Qin Yu's estimations, if the 7-star Emperor-level metal beast's brothers were to come for revenge, it would likely take them a couple more days. And now, the law enforcers had arrived. Furthermore, judging by their strength, they should be able to eliminate the 2 surviving Emperor-level metal beasts. There was no need for him to stay any longer. Lord Law Enforcers, please come in and rest. Elder Lu Tong immediately spoke. Among this group of people, he, Elder Lu Tong, was the weakest. Law Enforcers. He, Elder Lu Tong, knew very well that the law enforcers were a group of people that chased after those evil people that destroyed the Dark Star Realm. In the inner hall of the Elder's Hall. Elder Lu Tong, these 3 Emperor-class metal beasts first appeared on the Origin Movement planet in the north, Planet Feng E. They massacred the entire Planet Feng E population of several tens of thousands. Even the Elder of Planet Feng E was killed. After that, our enforcers were dispatched. They were mainly split into 3 teams. However, we did not expect the 3 Emperor-class metal beasts to be so powerful. After the 3 Emperor-class metal beasts massacred another Origin Movement planet, one of our enforcers finally intercepted the 3 Emperor-class metal beasts. In the Palace Hall, Wen Feng explained in detail. Merely, the people that we sent out at that time weren't very strong. The strongest person in that law enforcer team was only a 10-star Emperor. Of the 6 people in the small team, 3 were killed and the other 3 fled. However, that 10-star Emperor-level captain had already deduced that among the 3 Emperor-level metal beasts, the strongest one should be around 12-star Emperor level. Of course, We can't rule out the fact that the Emperor-level metal beast is hiding its strength. When Lu Tong heard this, he was shocked. He did not expect that 2 origin movement planets would be massacred. If it wasn't for Qin Yu, this deep mulberry star would have been the 3rd. It shouldn't have concealed its strength. Otherwise, it wouldn't have watched as 3 of your people escaped. Qin Yu determined. The masked Wenfeng cast his gaze toward Qin Yu. He nodded and said, "I also think so. Furthermore, I have determined the strength of the other 2 Emperor-class metal beasts. One is a 10-star Emperor level and the other is a 7-star Emperor level. There is absolutely no problem. Even if the last one was stronger, it shouldn't be much stronger than these 2. Lu Xing, you said, that 7-star Emperor-level metal beast had threatened you before it died, and that its brothers would come and take revenge on you." Wenfeng asked Qin Yu. "That's right." Qin Yu nodded. "Don't worry. If those 2 Emperor-class metal beasts were to appear, I will immediately discover them." Currently, Qin Yu's immortal awareness had completely covered the entire deep mulberry star. With Qin Yu's current immortal awareness, the amount of soul power consumed to cover the entire deep mulberry star would not affect him at all. "You all go and rest first," Wenfeng ordered his subordinates. "Yes, milord." The 5 enforcers saluted and then left the palace hall. At this moment, Wenfeng cast his gaze toward Elder Lu Tong. Elder Lu Tong also tactfully left the palace hall. Immediately, only Qin Yu and Wenfeng remained in the palace hall. Wenfeng looked to Qin Yu. The mask on his face instantly disappeared. Qin Yu's eyes widened slightly. This Wenfeng's appearance had truly shocked Qin Yu. He had never imagined that a person from the Dark Star Realm would have an appearance similar to the people from the Demon Realm. A 3rd eye. To be exact, there was a closed crack on Wenfeng's forehead. However, Qin Yu's immortal awareness was able to discover that there was an eye within the crack. "Lu Xing, your strength is sufficient for me to remove my mask. Let me introduce myself first. I am Wenfeng, the newly appointed large captain of the enforcers, a 15-star Emperor-level expert." A rare smile appeared on Wenfeng's face. Qin Yu was unable to figure out what purpose this Wenfeng before him had for treating him like this. "My name is Lu Xing, an ordinary interstellar cultivator." Qin Yu introduced himself in a very simple manner. How could an ordinary interstellar cultivator be someone that even I, Wenfeng, am unable to see through? Not long ago, the sacred planet had summoned an expert from the Gold Punishment sect that had reached 15-star Emperor level to the entire Dark Star Realm to become the head of our Dark Star Realm's 3 great sovereigns, the Gold Punishment Lord. "I am puzzled. Lu Xing, with your strength, why didn't you go to the sacred planet?" Wenfeng directly asked. The 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star Realm, that was a position that everyone yearned for. As for the Gold Punishment Lord, he was the head of the 3 great sovereigns. His status was even more supreme. Qin Yu smiled and said, "Let's not talk about me. What about you? I can tell that you've also reached 15-star Emperor level. However, why didn't you become the Gold Punishment Lord and instead became the large captain of the enforcers?" Qin Yu was indeed incomparably puzzled by this. Wenfeng laughed at himself and said, "Did you think that I didn't want to become the Gold Punishment Lord? Gold Punishment Lord, the head of the 3 great sovereigns. How revered is his status? The Emperor-level metal beast has arrived." Qin Yu suddenly interrupted Wenfeng's words. Wenfeng also stopped talking. The 2 of them glanced at each other and then disappeared from the palace hall at practically the same time. A ferocious bird whose entire body was composed of blue-colored metal was currently spiraling in the sky. This ferocious bird was the 10-star Emperor-level metal beast. It was currently hesitating whether or not to destroy the deep mulberry star. "Second brother, quickly leave. There's an expert here." A voice sounded in the ferocious bird's mind. The ferocious bird felt a burst of fear in its heart. Not good, there's danger. However, right at the moment when it was preparing to use greater teleportation to leave, a hand suddenly appeared out of thin air and grabbed onto its neck. "Little bird, you're still trying to escape?" A voice with a trace of ridicule sounded. The ferocious bird turned its head to look to the side. The person who grabbed onto its neck was a youth with a slight smile on his face. This ferocious bird simply did not know that a few days ago, its third brother was also grabbed by the same person. At this moment, a figure appeared beside Qin Yu. It was Wen Feng. I let it escape. Wen Feng's expression was somewhat ugly. That 12-star Emperor-level metal beast was hiding in the outer space. It had even set up a spirit formation in its surroundings. This caused me to be unable to directly teleport to its side. Spirit formation. Metal beasts also know how to set up spirit formations? Qin Yu was surprised. Wen Feng laughed at himself. Who knows? This is also the first time I've seen it. However, in history, there have been powerful Emperor-level metal beasts that had set up spirit formations before. With the intelligence of humans, it is not impossible for them to set up spirit formations. You all had best release me. Otherwise, my big brother will definitely come and kill you all. That ferocious bird actually spoke the human language. Haha. Qin Yu started to laugh. Hey, little bird, did you know that a few days ago, that 7-star Emperor-level metal beast was also grabbed by me like this? When I was about to kill it, it also threatened me. It was you who killed third brother. That ferocious bird stared at Qin Yu. However, the ferocious bird discovered that after its neck was grabbed by Qin Yu, the golden core in its body was completely enveloped by Qin Yu's metal power. It was simply unable to use any energy at all. Wen Feng, even if that 12-star Emperor-level metal beast was in a spirit formation, you shouldn't have been unable to capture it. Qin Yu said puzzledly. After all, Wen Feng was a 15-star Emperor-level expert. Wen Feng shook his head and said, being in a spirit formation, one cannot use greater teleportation. That 12-star Emperor-level metal beast left the great formation in the blink of an eye from the other side of the spirit formation and fled for its life. How do we deal with this little bird? Qin Yu looked to Wen Feng. Do as you wish. As long as you kill it, its golden core and corpse will naturally be yours. Wen Feng said indifferently. That ferocious bird seemed to feel that doomsday had arrived. It looked to Qin Yu with great fear. Lord, please spare me. As long as you spare me, I will do anything. Indeed, it has the intelligence of a human. Qin Yu praised. Spare? Would he spare it? Qin Yu still remembered that the leader of the law enforcers, Wen Feng, had said that these 3 Emperor-level metal beasts had already massacred 2 deep mulberry stars. How could he spare such savage metal beasts? His fingers exerted a bit of force. A sound akin to steel breaking sounded. That 10-star Emperor-level metal beast's neck was completely broken. As for its golden core, it was directly taken out by Qin Yu. Wen Feng, I asked you a question earlier. You still haven't answered me. Aren't you a 15-star Emperor-level expert? Why didn't you become the new Gold Punishment Lord? Qin Yu was still worried about this question. Wen Feng shook his head and smiled helplessly. I had also once wanted to become the Gold Punishment Lord. Thus, I trained diligently. Half a year ago, I finally broke through and reached 15-star Emperor level. Only when I returned to the sacred planet did I find out that a super expert had already returned to the sacred planet. That super expert had already been designated as the new Gold Punishment Lord. The official announcement should be made in half a year's time. At that time, I felt somewhat helpless. Thus, I became the captain of the law enforcers and went to kill some people to vent my anger. Never would I have expected that you would become the captain of the law enforcers just to vent your anger. Oh, that's right. You said that the new Gold Punishment Lord has already been designated. How strong is that person? Qin Yu asked. Wen Feng clenched his fists tightly and said, the new Gold Punishment Lord's strength is extremely powerful. Terrifyingly powerful. Qin Yu was shocked. Even Wen Feng said that the new Gold Punishment Lord was terrifyingly powerful. In that case, exactly how powerful was this new Gold Punishment Lord? How powerful could he be? Qin Yu said with a smile. Wen Feng said solemnly. No, he is truly very powerful. Back then, I was also very unconvinced as to why he became the new Gold Punishment Lord. Only later did I find out that that person was already an 18-star Emperor level expert. 18-star Emperor level. Qin Yu was stunned. 17 and 18-star Emperor level experts generally possessed souls of level 9 immortal emperors. They were people who were about to undergo the divine tribulation. The possibility of an 18-star Emperor level expert appearing was too low. 18-star Emperor level expert. In that case, his bones and muscles would be as tough and valiant as a high-quality divine artifact. Qin Yu felt a bit apprehensive. Qin Yu suddenly frowned. How did such an expert appear out of nowhere? Qin Yu looked to Wenfeng and asked, "Where is this super expert from? How did he suddenly appear out of nowhere?" "Dark Star," Wenfeng said solemnly. "The 18th Dark Star of the 18 Emperor-level trial Dark Stars. Lu Xing, you ought to know that those who are able to persist on the 18th Dark Star for 2 hours are considered to be 18-star Emperor-level experts. In all these years, I have never seen anyone go to the 18th Dark Star to train. However, about a year ago, a person suddenly appeared from the interstellar conveying array that connected to the 18th Dark Star." When Wenfeng said this, Qin Yu also understood. All 18 Dark Stars were connected to interstellar conveying arrays. For that person to be able to come out from the interstellar conveying array that connected to the 18th Dark Star, he was most definitely an 18-star Emperor-level expert. Sai, who would have known that there was someone on the 18th Dark Star. Yet, that person suddenly appeared. After that person appeared, 2 months later, another person appeared from the interstellar conveying array that connected to the 17th Dark Star. Qin Yu couldn't help but be stunned. Another one? That person should be a 17-star Emperor-level expert. It would appear that the Gold Punishment Lord's position was not snatched away by you in vain. Oh, that's right. How did these 2 super experts suddenly appear? Wenfeng smiled bitterly. How would I know? Looking at the records of the interstellar conveying arrays, the 17th and the 18th Emperor-level Dark Star were sent to the interstellar conveying arrays. The last time they were sent to the interstellar conveying arrays was several hundred years ago. The majority of the people thought that even if there were people that entered the interstellar conveying arrays in the past, they would have been crushed to pieces by the frightening pressure and died. Who would have thought that after so many years, they would return? Qin Yu nodded and joked. It is indeed very frightening. What if a dozen or 20 people suddenly appeared from the 18th Emperor-level Dark Star? Imagine that scene. Wenfeng's entire body went numb after hearing what Qin Yu said. It is extremely rare for people to enter the 17th and 18th Emperor-level Dark Star to train in. Similarly, no one knows whether or not there are super experts bitterly training in those 2 Dark Stars. Wenfeng sighed. Qin Yu nodded. "MN, it's time to proceed to the 18th Emperor-level trial Dark Star." Qin Yu thought in his heart. Chapter 444. Violent winds were howling. The Elder's palace was located at the peak of a mountain. On this mountain peak, Qin Yu was currently bidding farewell to Elder Lu Tong, Wenfeng and the other 5 law enforcers. "Lord Lu Xing, you do not have a transmission spiritual pearl?" After Elder Lu Tong heard Qin Yu's reply, he could not help but be surprised. Qin Yu nodded and said with a smile, "In the past, when I was wandering the interstellar space, I did not have any use for a transmission spiritual pearl. Thus, I have never purchased one. What's wrong? Is this very strange?" Qin Yu blushed with shame in his heart. Of course he had a transmission spiritual pearl. Merely, his transmission spiritual pearl was refined by the people of the immortal realm. He reckoned that if he were to take it out, it would definitely arouse suspicion. So that's the case. Elder Lu Tong came to a sudden realization. Immediately after, Elder Lu Tong said with a straight face, "Lord Lu Xing, as an interstellar cultivator in the past, it is one thing for you to not have a transmission spiritual pearl. However, you are now an Emperor-level expert of our Deep Mulberry Star. If our Deep Mulberry Star were to encounter any difficulties, we would need Lord Lu Xing's help. However, without a transmission spiritual pearl, we would not be able to find Lord Lu Xing. I have a transmission spiritual pearl here. If Lord Lu Xing does not mind, please accept it. Seeing the transmission spiritual pearl in Elder Lu Tong's hand, Qin Yu could not help but smile. This Elder Lu Tong truly knew how to conduct himself. Lu Xing, accept it. In the future, if we have any matters to look for you, we can contact you through the transmission spiritual pearl. The leader of the law enforcers, Wan Feng, said to Qin Yu. Since that's the case, I will accept it. Qin Yu accepted the transmission spiritual pearl. After that, he left a soul imprint on the transmission spiritual pearl with Elder Lu Tong and Wan Feng so that they could contact each other. Now that I have the transmission spiritual pearl, I am only missing an interstellar map. Qin Yu was very satisfied. As an outsider, it was indeed very complicated for him to infiltrate the Dark Star realm. Especially when he was being inspected before he was awarded the Stellar Identity Crystal, Qin Yu was truly worried that he would be found out. According to Qin Yu's estimation, the reason why he hadn't been discovered was because of the astral space. If it was someone else, it would be impossible for them to do this. Wan Feng, I have never been to the Trial Dark Star, nor do I know how to get there. I wonder if you have an interstellar map of the Trial Dark Star? Qin Yu looked at Wan Feng. The goods that this 15-star Emperor-level expert took out were definitely not inferior. Thus, Qin Yu did not ask Elder Lu Tong for them. Instead, he asked the leader of the law enforcers, Wan Feng, for them. The corners of Wan Feng's mouth curled up slightly, and there was a trace of a smile in his eyes. Lu Xing, I really can't help but admire you. To be able to cultivate to such a level, you actually never went to the Trial Dark Star. This interstellar map is the map of the entire Dark Star realm. We, the law enforcers, are all given a copy. As he spoke, Wan Feng handed over a crystal that looked like a jade slip. Qin Yu took it and scanned it with his soul force. There was an interstellar map inside. This interstellar map was extremely large. It actually contained all 9 great starfields of the Dark Star realm. It was extremely detailed. Furthermore, there was also the symbol of the bewitching god temple. Qin Yu felt a trace of joy in his heart. With this detailed interstellar map, he would be able to go anywhere in the vast Dark Star realm. Wan Feng, thank you. I have never been to the Trial Dark Star before. I am truly looking forward to it now. Qin Yu said while laughing. Qin Yu had his own opinion of the Dark Star. He had seen some introductions of the Dark Star realm in his Master Lei Wei's Science and Technology universe. White dwarf stars, neutron stars and other such planets, their density and gravity were all extremely large. However, Qin Yu also discovered one thing. The majority of the planets in his Master's Science and Technology universe were not very large. For example, planets like his hometown, the Purple Mystic Star, were superplanets with a diameter of over 10 billion miles. They had never been discovered in the Science and Technology universe. In fact, they were considered to be unlikely to exist. Immortal, devil and demon realm, as an existence that is a level higher than the mortal realm, what is the difference between the Dark Star of the mortal realm and the Dark Star of the mortal realm? Qin Yu started to guess. Qin Yu, this is your first time going to the Dark Star. There are a few things that you must pay attention to. Wan Feng suddenly said with a serious expression. When you are teleporting from the Trial Sacred Planet to the Trial Dark Star, it is best that you support yourself with both your hands and legs on the ground. This way, the pressure on your body will be less. If you were to only rely on your 2 legs, once the gravity becomes too frightening, it might even cause your bones to shatter into pieces. Hearing that, Qin Yu's heart jumped. Supporting himself with both his hands and legs on the ground, what was that? Also, when choosing the Trial Dark Star to enter, you must not be too greedy. You must try to be as conservative as possible. Only when you are on a trial planet and can hold a Dark Star block that is twice as heavy as you, can you enter the higher level of the Dark Star. Wan Feng continued. After that, Wan Feng started to laugh. Let's not talk about it anymore. I actually forgot. When you arrive at the Trial Sacred Planet, there will naturally be someone to tell you about it. Trial Sacred Planet? Qin Yu only knew about the 36 trial dark stars. However, he did not know what the Trial Sacred Planet was. What is the Trial Sacred Planet? Qin Yu asked. Elder Lu Tong sighed and said, Lord Lu Xing, you don't even know about the Trial Sacred Planet. It would appear that your understanding of this is truly too lacking. Let me tell you. The 3 core planets of the 3 great star fields of the Dark Star Realm are the 3 great sacred planets. They are respectively the Gold Punishment Sacred Planet, the Black Flame Sacred Planet, and the White Profound Sacred Planet. Other than these 3 great sacred planets, there is another planet called the Sacred Planet. That is the Trial Sacred Planet. Wen Feng continued. Lu Xing, the 36 trial dark stars are divided into 18 Emperor-level trial dark stars and 18 King-level trial dark stars. In order to proceed to the 36 trial dark stars, one must first arrive at the Trial Sacred Planet. This Trial Sacred Planet is the transit planet to the 36 trial dark stars. Qin Yu suddenly realized. Wasn't it just a transit planet? However, upon thinking about it carefully, Qin Yu realized that this Trial Sacred Planet was likely more prosperous than the other 3 sacred planets. After all, more than half of the experts in the Dark Star Realm were gathered on the 36 trial dark stars. As for this only transit planet, it was certain that experts would frequently appear. Elder Lu Tong said, My teacher said that there are a lot of experts on the Trial Sacred Planet. Even Emperor-level experts are relatively common there. Thus, it is best to endure patiently there. Elder Lu Tong, there is no need for you to say those words to Lu Xing, Wen Feng said. Oh right, I forgot. Elder Lu Tong laughed at himself. There are not many people in the Dark Star Realm that are stronger than Lord Lu Xing. Qin Yu slightly organized his thoughts. Then, he said to Elder Lu Tong and Wen Feng. Elder Lu Tong, Wen Feng, I will be setting off for the Trial Dark Star now. Lord Lu Xing, take care, Elder Lu Tong said respectfully. As for Wen Feng, he looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu's body turned into a ray of light and flew away from the summit of the mountain. He shot into the horizon and then disappeared. Qin Yu did not use the interstellar conveying arrays to proceed toward the Trial Sacred Planet. Since he possessed the interstellar map, Qin Yu directly used greater teleportation and rapidly rushed toward the Trial Sacred Planet. Trial Sacred Planet. This was a planet with a diameter of over 1,000,000 miles. The Trial Dark Star could be said to be the planet that contained the most experts among all the planets in the Dark Star Realm. There were 36 tallest buildings on the Trial Sacred Planet. These 36 tall buildings were all 99 stories tall. As for the other buildings, the tallest one was only 10 stories tall. One could imagine how conspicuous 36 99-story buildings were. This was the rule of the Trial Dark Star. That was because these 36 tall buildings were where the experts participating in the trial lived. There was a row of words on top of each of the 36 tall buildings. They were respectively 1-star King level, 2-star King level, 18-star King level, 1-star Emperor level, 2-star Emperor level, 18-star Emperor level. Groups of men and women were walking on the streets. Practically every single one of them was emitting a sort of aura. It was the tenacious aura that cultivators generally possessed. There were also a lot of shops and restaurants on the Trial Dark Star. A youth wearing a black gown with long hair that reached his shoulders was walking on the streets. Sure enough, there are quite a lot of experts. Qin Yu looked all around. What's going on? Qin Yu looked to a tall building not far away with a puzzled expression. This tall building was 99 stories tall. From afar, he could see the words 18-star Emperor level. 18-star Emperor level experts should be extremely rare. But, why are there the most people there? Qin Yu was puzzled. He couldn't help but walk toward that building. Based on Qin Yu's understanding, these 36 tall buildings were places for the trial challengers to rest and live. The first floor was a place for drinking and eating. The second floor and above were places for the trial challengers to rest and live. The trial challengers were able to eat and drink for free in their respective places. Just as Qin Yu walked into the 18-star Emperor-level tall building, he heard an enormous clamor. Lord Yu Yang, I've heard that you've already made some progress in your cultivation on the 8-star Emperor-level Dark Star. You're about to step into the 9-star Emperor-level Dark Star, right? Not yet. Although I've cultivated on the 8-star Emperor-level Dark Star for over 3,000 years, I reckon that I'll still need several hundred years to step into the 9-star Emperor-level Dark Star. Hey, Bill, please. 36 low-grade elemental spirit stones. The clamor directly entered his ears. However, with Qin Yu's sharp hearing, he was able to hear a lot of conversations. Qin Yu couldn't help but feel puzzled. These people didn't seem to be 18-star Emperor-level experts. Why is it so noisy? Qin Yu was a bit puzzled. He walked into the tall building through the main entrance. Just as Qin Yu walked into the main entrance, a triangular prism pillar above the main entrance emitted a misty radiance that enveloped Qin Yu's entire body. Qin Yu raised his head to look. This crystal pillar was very similar to the crystal pillar that Elder Lu Tong took out back then. After walking through the main entrance, Qin Yu arrived at an enormous hall with a length and width of 100 meters. In the center of the hall was a teleportation array. Beside the teleportation array was a long-bearded old man who was resting with his eyes closed. Evidently, this teleportation array was used to teleport people to the 18-star Emperor-level Dark Star. The first floor occupied a very large area. Other than this 100-meter long and wide hall, there was also an even larger restaurant. At this moment, several hundred people were gathered in that restaurant, eating and drinking. The triangular prism pillar above the main entrance withdrew its misty radiance. However, a ray of light was shot out from the top of the triangular prism pillar. The ray of light shot into the red sphere above the hall. Stare! A sharp and clear sound resounded through the entire first floor. In almost an instant, the entire first floor turned silent. This included the several hundred people who were eating and drinking. Hoo! In the blink of an eye, the several hundred cultivators who were eating and drinking rushed into the hall. Practically everyone looked toward the entrance, and there stood Qin Yu alone. Elder, a high-level Emperor-level expert has arrived. An attendant of the restaurant immediately shouted toward the long-bearded old man who seemed to have already fallen asleep. Lord Elder, stop sleeping. Amen. The long-bearded old man who was resting with his eyes closed suddenly opened his eyes wide. He raised his head and looked toward the red sphere above the hall. At this moment, the red sphere was emitting a misty radiance. That long-bearded old man rubbed his eyes in disbelief. At this moment, the several hundred spectators were discussing with one another in astonishment. It's a high-level Emperor-level expert. At the very least, he's a 13-star Emperor-level expert. He doesn't have the heat of the Black Flame sect, nor the cold air of the White Profound sect. Evidently, he's from the Gold Punishment sect. There doesn't seem to be anyone from the Gold Punishment sect that has reached 15-star Emperor level. There is. This lord has arrived here. Could it be that he's an 18-star Emperor level expert? I've heard that not long ago, an 18-star Emperor level expert came out from this teleportation array. At that time, I was also here. Quiet. The long-bearded old man seemed to have woken up. He suddenly shouted at the group of people. The several hundred people immediately quieted down. At this moment, the long-bearded old man hurriedly walked before Qin Yu and said respectfully, I am Elder Lu Yu. I have always been in charge of the 18 Emperor-level Dark Star teleportation array. May I know what Lord has come here for? Are you going to enter the 18 Emperor-level Dark Stars? Elder Lu Yu carefully looked at the man before him and muttered in his heart. Judging from his aura, he doesn't seem to be from the Black Flame sect or the White Profound sect. I reckon he's from the Gold Punishment sect. Ah, could it be that someone from the Gold Punishment sect dares to enter the 18 Emperor-level Dark Stars? No, I haven't reached that level yet. Qin Yu hurriedly said. Qin Yu's heart jumped in fright. The moment he entered, that triangular crystal pillar had already displayed his strength. It had even attracted the attention of a large group of people. What's going on here? Is it worth it for a high-level Emperor-level expert to act like this? Qin Yu felt somewhat indignant. Qin Yu didn't know. High-level Emperor-level experts were incomparably rare to begin with. Normally, it would be hard to even see one in several tens of years. Most importantly, this was the 18-star Emperor-level Dark Star. Coming here and being a high-level Emperor-level expert meant that he was very likely an 18-star Emperor-level expert. That was why this large group of people was so shocked. "Oh Lord, it is our honor to be here. Over there is a place to eat. Lord, you can enjoy a half-price discount here," that elder Lu Yu hurriedly said. If one wasn't a high-level Emperor-level expert, one would have to pay full price here. Generally, high-level Emperor-level experts would be able to enjoy half price. Only 18-star Emperor-level experts would be able to eat, drink, and rest for free. Qin Yu nodded. "I understand. Farewell." After saying that, Qin Yu directly left this place. Understand? Understand what? That elder Lu Yu was somewhat puzzled. Only when Qin Yu heard the half-price discount did he understand the reason why this group of people were eating and drinking here. Logically speaking, 18-star Emperor-level experts should be eating and resting here for free. It would appear that this group of people had to spend money here. No wonder they were able to gather here. After leaving this 18-star Emperor-level building, Qin Yu walked towards another building. The 14-star Emperor-level building. Chapter 445. Qin Yu stepped into the 14-star Emperor-level building. Just like before, the triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar above the main entrance of the 14-star Emperor-level building immediately tested Qin Yu's strength. A familiar ding sound resounded through the hall. Even the noise in the dining area immediately quieted down. That sound meant that a high-level Emperor-level expert had arrived. In the center of the hall, there was a teleportation array. Beside the teleportation array was an elder in charge of the affairs of the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star. "Quiet down." This elder shouted at the people in the dining area. Immediately after, he walked toward Qin Yu and said respectfully, "My lord, I am Elder Ji Qiao, the one in charge of the affairs of the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star." "I am Lu Xing," Qin Yu nodded and said. "My lord, do you wish to eat and rest or enter the Dark Star to cultivate?" that Elder Ji Qiao asked. Elder Ji Qiao was slightly surprised in his heart. Another super expert that I have never heard of. This is the second one today. I wish to enter the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star to cultivate. Qin Yu said calmly. Once Qin Yu said those words, many people at the side immediately started discussing. Another person entering the Dark Star to cultivate. 14-star Emperor level. There was already one earlier and now there's another one. How come there are so many experts in the Gold Punishment sect? 14-star Emperor level. Not to mention 14-star Emperor level, I would be thankful if I could even reach 1-star Emperor level. When Qin Yu heard the conversations of the group of people, he was surprised. Amen. There's already someone who entered the trial today? Lord Lu Xing, this is all the information regarding the trial in the Dark Star. My lord, please take a look. That Elder Ji Qiao handed over a jade strip to Qin Yu. Qin Yu received the jade strip and scanned it with his spiritual awareness. This jade strip was very small. However, it contained a lot of information. With a glance, Qin Yu indeed learned a lot of information regarding the trial. Firstly, if one wished to enter the trial Dark Star, one must use the Stellar Identity Crystal. When he had entered the gate just now, the triangular crystal pillar had covered him with light, which was the Celestial Identity Crystal. At the same time, in order to enter the 14-star Emperor level Dark Star, one must possess the strength of a 13-star Emperor. The proof of one's strength was to successfully pass through the 13-star Emperor level Dark Star's training. Once one succeeded, one would be awarded a 13-star Emperor level title plate. Of course, Qin Yu had been determined to be a high-level Emperor level. He was at least a 13-star Emperor level expert. Thus, he did not necessarily need a 13-star Emperor level title plate. As for Qin Yu, if he were to succeed in the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star, he would be awarded a 14-star Emperor-level title plate. In addition to these, the jade slip in Qin Yu's hand also described some of the things one needed to know during the trial on the Dark Star. Of course, Qin Yu could eat and rest here for free. Elder Zhiqiao. Qin Yu kept the jade strip and asked with a smile, I heard that not long ago, someone entered the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star? Both of them were extraordinary experts. Elder Zhiqiao sighed in his heart. However, he spoke the truth. That's right. Not long ago, someone entered the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star. Haha, I have been here for so many years. Sometimes, I would not receive a single person for several hundred years. Yet today, I received 2 people at once. Very well. In that case, activate the teleportation array. Qin Yu said. Immediately after, Qin Yu walked into the center of the teleportation array. Please wait a moment. Elder Zhiqiao walked forward and pointed with his finger. A white energy shot out from his finger and poured into the teleportation array. Immediately, the teleportation array lit up. At this moment, there were several hundred people surrounding them. They were all staring at Qin Yu. Their eyes were filled with envy and worship. Milord, it's best to be careful. Seeing Qin Yu standing there so proudly, Elder Zhiqiao reminded him. Qin Yu lightly smiled and shook his head. Elder Zhiqiao sighed in his heart. A bunch of arrogant people. As the light blossomed, it completely enveloped the entire teleportation array. After a short moment, the light from the teleportation array dissipated and Qin Yu also disappeared. The group of cultivators in the surroundings started to clamor. In a short day, 2 people had entered the 14-star Emperor level. This was something worth talking about. Qin Yu knew his own strength. Merely in terms of his muscles and bones, he was definitely comparable to a 15-star Emperor-level expert. However, in terms of muscles, he reckoned that he was not even comparable to a 14-star Emperor-level expert. The reason why Qin Yu came to the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star was precisely to train his muscles. Qin Yu felt a flash before his eyes. Immediately after, a desolate world appeared before his eyes. However, before he could carefully observe his surroundings, Qin Yu felt a terrifyingly powerful pressure engulfing his entire body. Bang! Qin Yu suddenly knelt down on one knee. His knee fiercely smashed into the ground. His hands were also supporting himself on the ground. What's going on? Qin Yu felt that the muscles in his entire body were trembling. Both inside and outside, even his cells were disintegrating. That terrifying gravitational force caused his cells to be unable to maintain their original state. His original cells were beginning to collapse. The skin on the surface of his body began to rupture. Scarlet blood vessels were exposed. His blood-red muscles were clearly exposed. However, his muscles were still slowly tearing apart. Qin Yu felt hot, piercing pain. This was not merely the tearing of his skin and muscles. This pain originated from the collapse of the cells in the deepest part of his body. Even his heart, lungs, and other organs were beginning to slowly collapse. It was extremely painful. A fellow who thinks himself infallible. He actually dared to come to the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star without having sufficient confidence in his cultivation on the 13-star Emperor-level Dark Star. A grim voice sounded from the side. Qin Yu turned his head around with difficulty. It was a robust youth who was in a better state than him. Compared to Qin Yu, that youth's skin was also ruptured. However, his muscles were still fine. Merely, that youth's body was emitting a series of crackling sounds. That youth was also kneeling on one knee and supporting himself with his hands. You're not much better off than me. Qin Yu tried his best to say those words. However, the muscles in his throat were in extreme pain. Qin Yu knew very well that his muscles should still be a distance away from reaching the level of a 14-star emperor. However, it shouldn't be too far away. If it was too far away, his muscles would likely instantly turn into dust. As for his bones, they had reached the level of a 15-star emperor. In this place, His bones were still rather relaxed. As for that youth not far away, his bones were being subjected to extreme pressure and were emitting crackling sounds non-stop. There's metal attribute energy in this place? Qin Yu was able to sense the energy in this place with his soul power. It should be some conversion formation that the seniors of the Dark Star realm prepared for the latecomers. Qin Yu understood in his heart. Immediately, he began to absorb the metal attribute energy from the outside world. Just like that, Qin Yu was kneeling on one knee. With great effort, he crawled 3 steps out of the range of the teleportation formation. After that, he sat down cross-legged. The condition of his muscles could not be considered to be that bad. Although his skin and other weaker areas were rupturing, the life origin energy contained within each and every one of his cells was causing Qin Yu's injuries to heal at a frightening speed. His skin ruptured and healed. His muscles slowly tore apart and healed by the life origin energy. The life origin energy was also causing Qin Yu's muscles to slowly transform. As for Qin Yu, he was absorbing the metal attribute energy unceasingly, causing his muscles to improve at an extreme speed. Sitting cross-legged for an entire year. A year later, Qin Yu opened his eyes. My muscles have now reached the level of a 14-star emperor. Qin Yu propped himself up with his hands and stood up. When Qin Yu stood up, a voice sounded. You've succeeded in your cultivation? Qin Yu looked towards the source of the voice. Not far away from Qin Yu, about 10 meters away from him, there was a robust and naked man wearing only shorts. Not only that man, Qin Yu was also only wearing shorts made of the gold attribute energy. His upper body and thighs were both naked. In fact, even his feet were bare. After all, his skin was rupturing and blood was flowing out. Under such circumstances, wearing clothes was extremely uncomfortable. Didn't you say that I was overestimating my capabilities? Qin Yu said with a smile. That robust man also tried his best to stand up. However, his skin was still rupturing with small cracks from time to time. That robust man smiled at Qin Yu and said, "In that case, I apologize to you. However, you are truly amazing. In merely a year, you're able to completely stand on this 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star. Furthermore, you're completely unharmed." Qin Yu understood in his heart that the reason why he was able to succeed so quickly was inseparable from the life origin energy. Let me introduce myself. My name is Meng Long. That robust man said with a grin. My name is Lu Xing, Qin Yu said. Meng Long nodded his head. Then, he said, you can continue with your cultivation. However, don't be too anxious this time. A year ago, when you had just come out from the teleportation array, your muscles had clearly not reached the endurance level of a 14-star Emperor level. I had thought that you would immediately flee back. Who would have thought that you would actually persist until today and even succeed? Last time, I wasn't careful enough. This time, I will be careful. Meng Long, I'm going to go cultivate now. Qin Yu said with a smile. Meng Long nodded his head. Then, he immediately sat down cross-legged. Actually, when he stood up with his legs earlier, the pressure on his muscles and bones was truly too great. With his current muscles and bones, he was still unable to completely withstand that frightening gravitational force while standing. As for Qin Yu, he was slowly walking with a strolling speed. It's been a long time since I felt this kind of extreme state. Qin Yu felt as if every part of his body was being subjected to an extremely frightening pressure. According to the description of the science and technology planet that my master gave me, for dark stars like white dwarf stars and neutron stars, dark stars with frightening gravitational forces, a cubic centimeter of matter would be comparable to the weight of a mountain. However, this is the immortal, devil and demon realm. It's a cosmic space of a higher level than the mortal realm. The dark stars here seem to be different from the dark stars of the mortal realm. Qin Yu looked at the ground beneath his feet. It was indeed different. According to Qin Yu's understanding, the dark stars of the science and technology universe of the mortal realm ought to be formed from the later stages of evolution of stars. So much so that neutron stars could be considered as complete giant atomic nuclei. Science and technology? To me, That doesn't seem to be feasible. Qin Yu smiled as he walked on the dark star. Among the 18 Emperor-level dark stars, this was the 14th one. It ought to have an extremely frightening gravitational force. According to Qin Yu's estimation, it ought to be comparable to the neutron stars of the mortal realm. However, as a human, he was actually able to walk on it alive. The complete collapse of his cells seemed to have happened before. However, after the transformation of his cells, the energy of his cells had become even stronger. It was completely capable of withstanding the gravitational force of the dark star beneath his feet. Qin Yu spread out his soul's power. Amen? This dark star is actually capable of attracting soul's power? Qin Yu was shocked to discover that the frightening gravitational force of this dark star actually had an effect on soul's power. However, Qin Yu had the assistance of Lu Xing's tear and was still able to observe the entire dark star. This dark star was very small. To be exact, dark stars were generally very small. This dark star only had a diameter of about 1,000 miles. If this was an ordinary mortal realm, Qin Yu reckoned that he would have been able to pass through it in a blink of an eye. However, what about now? If he were to walk 1,000 miles at the speed of a stroll, how long would it take? If he were to walk 100 miles in a day, he reckoned that it would take him 10 whole days. Furthermore, that was only the diameter of the dark star. He reckoned that it would take him more than a month to go around the dark star. On this 14-star Emperor-level dark star, there's only me and that Meng Long. This is exactly as I had anticipated. However, there's actually liquid on this dark star? Qin Yu was a bit surprised. Earlier, his soul's power had discovered that there was a 2-meter-long and 1-meter-wide crater 300 miles away from him. Inside the crater was a green-colored liquid. There was liquid on the dark star? With Qin Yu's understanding of neutron stars, he was unable to explain it at all. Qin Yu could only comfort himself with the fact that this was the immortal, devil and demon realm. It was a cosmic space that was higher than the mortal realm. Sigh. 300 miles. So far. Qin Yu sighed deeply. Qin Yu's muscle strength had already reached its limit. Only then was he able to reach the speed of a stroll. Walking 300 miles at this speed. Perhaps only on the dark star would Qin Yu feel that 300 miles was an extremely far distance. Qin Yu simply didn't know that Meng Long, who couldn't even stand for a while, was currently envious of him for being able to stroll. After a day. Huff huff. Qin Yu was gasping for breath. Wearing only shorts, Qin Yu's upper body and thighs were covered in sweat. However, they were immediately crushed by the frightening gravitational force. Every single muscle on Qin Yu's body was trembling. After an entire day of strolling, Qin Yu had been using his muscle strength to the limit. At this moment, Qin Yu could clearly feel the soreness in his muscles. Fortunately, he had the origin life energy that was constantly healing his muscles. Otherwise, walking continuously for an entire day would simply be wishful thinking. As he walked step by step, he raised his head and saw the boundless outer space. There were no celestial bodies near this dark star at all. After all, the gravitational force of this dark star was too strong. There were only a few small celestial bodies far away. What exactly is the liquid on the dark star? Amen. Let's continue walking. Qin Yu clenched his teeth and continued to walk step by step. The muscles in his entire body that were stretched to their limits were unceasingly twisting and turning. On this dark star with an extremely strong gravitational force, Qin Yu continued to walk step by step. Every single step was as heavy as Mount Tai. Chapter 446. The dark star was evolved from a star. Its surface temperature was extremely terrifying. Under that temperature, even steel would be turned into gas. However, to Qin Yu, this temperature was nothing. After all, with Qin Yu's current body, he would not be harmed by the blue heavenly flames. As for the extremely silent heavenly flames, Qin Yu's current body was still slightly weaker than the extremely silent heavenly flames. This gravity is also terrifyingly strong. Qin Yu's muscles were stretched to their limits. Every step Qin Yu took was extremely heavy. With the assistance of the life elemental energy, Qin Yu was able to persist until he reached his destination. Qin Yu had been curious the entire time. A liquid that could exist on a dark star. According to Qin Yu's estimation, with the gravity of a 14-star Emperor-level dark star, even a mountain would instantly collapse and be compressed into something the size of a finger. As for ordinary liquids, they would most likely be compressed until they disappeared. As for this green liquid, it was a small pond. Amen. When he was about 30 miles away from the pond of green liquid, Qin Yu felt the surrounding temperature suddenly drop. Even the temperature of the solid dark star beneath his feet started to drop. While feeling puzzled, Qin Yu continued to advance. When he was 20 miles away from the pond of green liquid, the temperature had dropped to a level that mortals could endure. Could it be that the front is terrifyingly cold? While feeling puzzled, Qin Yu continued to advance. He was constantly guessing in his heart, and his guesses were constantly changing. When he was 10 miles away from the pond of green liquid, Qin Yu's body trembled. He thought to himself, "The temperature is already so low. It should be comparable to the power of the jade smoke cold air." When he was about 1.5 miles away from the pond of green liquid, Qin Yu felt a bone-chilling cold. The temperature here is definitely comparable to the weeping gold cold air. The flames were divided into heaven flames, blue heavenly flames, and extremely silent heavenly flames. As for the cold air, it was divided into jade smoke cold air, weeping gold cold air, and ice soul cold air. When he was still 3 miles away from the pond of green liquid, the surrounding temperature was comparable to the weeping gold cold air. From this, one could imagine how terrifying the temperature of the green liquid was. In the beginning, when Qin Yu used his soul power to observe, his soul power was only able to observe some scenes. It was unable to feel the cold or heat at all. "This is way too cold." Qin Yu looked at the ground beneath his feet, and his expression changed. The dark star could be considered a solid object that was completely condensed by a terrifying gravitational force. When Qin Yu first came out of the teleportation array, the dark star under his feet had completely solidified, as if it was a hole. However, at this moment, the ground of the dark star beneath their feet had started to crack due to the frightening coldness. Even the terrifying gravitational force of the dark star was unable to completely condense them together. One could imagine how cold the temperature was. At this moment, Qin Yu was about 600 meters away from the green liquid pool. "What is this green liquid? I want to have a good look at it." Qin Yu stubbornly continued to approach the green liquid pool. The extremely low coldness caused all of the muscles in Qin Yu's body to begin to tremble from the inside out. Trembling represented that Qin Yu's endurance had reached a critical point. But fortunately, at least his muscles were still able to tremble. If he was frozen to the point where his muscles wouldn't tremble, then the insides of his muscles might have been frozen and cracked. Qin Yu continued to advance, one step at a time. The muscles of his left arm, which had already turned white, began to split open. Before the bright red blood could flow out, it had already been frozen into a dark red color. Qin Yu frowned. However, he still took another step forward. His thighs, left side of his face, and chest were instantly frozen and cracked open. Qin Yu's footsteps came to a sudden halt. "It seems I can't continue forward. If I continue forward, most likely all of my muscles will be frozen to death. Even my elemental life force won't be able to repair them in time." Qin Yu understood the current state of his body very well. Every single part of his muscles was trembling violently. Even his tiny cells were moving violently, as though they wanted to rely on this to generate some heat to counteract the coldness. His powerful muscles, under the cold, were slowly beginning to tear apart, while his elemental life force was constantly repairing them. At this moment, he had reached his limit. The distance between Qin Yu's feet and the distant pool of jade-green liquid was over 300 meters. The coldness of this place is already very close to that of the ice soul frigid qi. Most likely, at a distance of 200 meters, the temperature of the ice soul frigid qi would be comparable. What exactly is that jade-green pool of water? Its temperature is actually lower than that of the ice soul frigid qi. The ice soul frigid chi was on the same level as the extremely silent heavenly flames. Ordinary low-quality divine artifacts would even be frozen to death. Most likely, even mid-quality divine artifacts wouldn't be able to withstand it. Only high-quality divine artifacts would be undamaged by the ice soul frigid chi. From this, one could imagine how tyrannical it was. But this green liquid seemed to be much more terrifying than the ice soul frigid chi. Where did this green liquid come from? Qin Yu pondered. Such a powerful green liquid. Qin Yu was certain that this thing definitely had a great use. However, how was he supposed to retrieve it? Retrieve that green liquid with my gold force? Qin Yu pondered. That won't do. Under the gravitational force of the dark star, my gold force would only be able to reach several tens of meters away from my body. Furthermore, under such cold air, even my gold force would not be able to withstand it. Qin Yu immediately rejected the first method. What about the Zhonglan's realm? Although the Zhonglan's realm was capable of taking things into it, it could not be too far away. At the same time, it also depended on what the thing was. If it was a person, then that person would not be able to resist. If it was an object, for example, a dark star, the Zhonglan's realm would not be able to take it in. As for this pool of liquid, if it was close enough, then it should be possible. Suddenly, Qin Yu's eyes shined. At this moment, I can only trust Uncle Lon. A human figure split out from Qin Yu's body. It was the sword immortal puppet. The sword immortal puppet's toughness is much stronger than my current body. I reckon it will be able to withstand it. Qin Yu's awareness entered the sword immortal puppet. He then prepared to control the sword immortal puppet to move forward. However, at the moment when Qin Yu's body leaned forward and was about to move forward, boom! The sword immortal puppet was crushed to the ground. The sword immortal puppet's body was indeed very valiant. Even under the gravitational force of the 14-star Emperor-level dark star, it was not damaged in the slightest. Even under the corrosion of the ice soul cold air, it was not damaged in the slightest. However, the sword immortal puppet's strength was at the very most that of a level 9 golden immortal. Controlling the sword immortal puppet with the strength of a level 9 golden immortal was simply unable to take a step forward on the 14-star Emperor-level dark star. Earlier, it was still fine standing. However, once it took a step forward, it lost its balance and was crushed to the ground. It would appear that I will not be able to obtain that green liquid. Qin Yu laughed at himself. Then, he directly took the sword immortal puppet back into his body. If he were to help me, then that might not necessarily be the case. Qin Yu suddenly thought of a person. After that, he disappeared into thin air. A speck of green appeared on the dark star. Times inside the Zhonglan's realm. Wu Lan and He Tong were sitting on the side. As for Guo Fan, he was bitterly training. Wu Lan casually spoke a few words, and Guo Fan began to ponder over what Wu Lan had said. Then, he continued to train. Uncle Wu Lan, my uncle has come. He Tong suddenly said. There was only a single person that He Tong addressed as uncle. That person was Qin Yu. Wu Lan turned around to look. He then smiled and said, Qin Yu, didn't you say last time that you were going to the Dark Star to train? How come you've come here? I have already arrived at the Dark Star. Not long ago, I discovered some liquid on the Dark Star. However, that liquid was terrifyingly cold. I was also unable to obtain it. Thus, I wish to ask for your help, Wu Lan. With the valiance of your body, you ought to be able to get close to it. Qin Yu went straight to the point. Hearing that, Wu Lan asked in confusion. You said liquid? Wu Lan, you can send out your demon awareness to inspect it. Qin Yu controlled the Zhonglan's realm to not restrict Wu Lan's demon awareness. Wu Lan nodded and then sent out his demon awareness. After a short period of time. How is it? Qin Yu looked to Wu Lan. Wu Lan smiled and said, Never would I have expected that such a thing would appear on a dark star. That jade green liquid, if my guess is correct, it ought to be the unitary heavy water. Unitary heavy water. Qin Yu was a bit puzzled. He had never heard of the name unitary heavy water. Wu Lon explained. The unitary heavy water is a cold attribute liquid energy on the same level as the divine flame. Merely, compared to the divine flame, this unitary heavy water is even rarer. Back then, when I was in the divine realm, I had only seen it once. Rarer? Could it be that this unitary heavy water is very hard to obtain? Although he had yet to enter the divine realm, Qin Yu was already impatient to know more about the divine realm. Wu Lon laughed at himself and said, "My status in the divine realm is not high. Thus, I do not know a lot of things. However, I know that the true flames within the bodies of deities are usually the black divine flames. Thus, there are a lot of people who use the black divine flames. However, I have only seen people who use the unitary heavy water once." Qin Yu listened attentively. That time, I was lucky and saw the master of the Bewitching God Temple crafting artifacts. At that time, I had already seen the master of the Bewitching God Temple using the unitary heavy water. Wu Lon explained in detail. Qin Yu was startled. "Wu Lon, you said that the master of the Bewitching God Temple was crafting artifacts?" Qin Yu wanted to know everything about the master of the Bewitching God Temple. Wu Lon nodded and said, "The master of the Bewitching God Temple is also an extraordinary person in the divine realm. Of course, I reckon that the master of the Bewitching God Temple is not as powerful as that Uncle Lon of yours." Qin Yu started laughing. "How do you know that he's not as powerful as Uncle Lon?" Wu Lon said as if it was a matter of course. "Is there even a need to ask? Just by looking at this Jianglan's realm, to be able to craft the Jianglan's realm, is there even a need to talk about his status in the divine realm? Although the master of the Bewitching God Temple is extraordinary, it's still impossible for him to reach that level. If the master of the Bewitching God Temple were to match up to that Uncle Lon of yours, then he wouldn't have come to the immortal, devil and demon realm from the divine realm with such great fanfare. That would be troublesome." Qin Yu nodded to indicate that he understood. After knowing about Uncle Lan's strength, Qin Yu was even more certain that Li Er ought to be in the divine realm. "I reckon that Uncle Lon and Li Er must have had something to do in the mortal realm's purple mystic star. To meet them, I wonder when I'll be able to." Qin Yu sighed in his heart. When he was training in the mortal realm, Qin Yu still felt that finding Li Er was still far away. However now, Qin Yu at least knew that as long as he ascended to the divine realm, he ought to be able to find Li Er. "Oh, Wu Lon." Qin Yu woke up and asked, "This unitary heavy water, are you certain that you'll be able to bring them in?" Wu Lon muttered, "Unitary heavy water, I've never touched it in the divine realm. I am not afraid of ordinary divine flames. However, unitary heavy water? It's truly hard to say." Wu Lon was also not certain. "Wu Lon, help me give it a try," said Qin Yu. Right now, Qin Yu could only ask Wu Lon for help. Wu Lon muttered to himself for a moment and then said, "How about this? Let me enter the Dark Star and give it a try. Of course, if I fail, then there's nothing we can do. In that case, thank you very much." Qin Yu was overjoyed. "Eldest uncle, that unitary heavy water that you're all talking about, is it very powerful?" Hei Tong, who was listening to them, asked. Qin Yu stroked Hei Tong's head lovingly. He smiled and said, "Of course it's powerful. Even your eldest uncle, I, am unable to get close to it. Tell me, is it powerful or not?" After that, Qin Yu looked to Wu Lon. Wu Lon nodded. Qin Yu then brought Wu Lon out of the Jianglan's realm. Times on the 14-star Emperor level Dark Star. Qin Yu and Wu Lon suddenly appeared on the Dark Star. Upon returning to the Dark Star, Qin Yu once again felt that frightening pressure. However, Wu Lon appeared on the Dark Star as if he did not feel it in the slightest. "The pressure here is pretty good." Wu Lon seemed to be unable to feel that frightening gravitational force. He then looked to the dark green-colored cold pond over 300 meters away and asked Qin Yu, That's it, right? Qin Yu nodded. Wu Lan, if you can't hold on, then don't force yourself. You're too far away from me. Even if I wanted you to enter the Jianglan's realm, I would not be able to. Qin Yu carefully instructed. Indeed, this was very dangerous. If Wu Lan were to encounter any danger beside the cold pond, Qin Yu would likely not be able to save him. Don't worry. Wu Lan smiled confidently. Then, with a step, he shot toward the cold pond like an arrow. Qin Yu was even able to see an afterimage. On the 14-star Emperor level Dark Star, one's speed was so fast that one could only see afterimages. On the Dark Star, such a fast speed, is his body able to withstand it? Qin Yu was astonished. This was the first time that he discovered that he had underestimated Wu Lan. Qin Yu, I forgot to tell you. Back then, when I saw the master of the Bewitching God Temple crafting artifacts, I was only several meters away from the master of the Bewitching God Temple and also several meters away from the Unitary Heavy Water. At the very least, approaching the Unitary Heavy Water is still very easy for me. Wu Lan's mind-voice transmission sounded in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu displayed a smile on his face. 300 meters, if Qin Yu were to walk, it would likely take him a long time. As for Wu Lan, with 2 jumps like an arrow, he arrived beside the dark green-colored cold pond. Wu Lan's expression began to change. It became serious and was no longer as relaxed as before. The Unitary Heavy Water was too cold. Ordinary storage rings were simply unable to withstand it. Even low-quality and mid-quality divine artifacts were unable to withstand it. Not to mention ordinary storage rings. Wu Lan, use your body's energy to envelop the Unitary Heavy Water. Qin Yu said via mind-voice transmission. No, under the Unitary Heavy Water, my demon elemental energy would likely be corroded the moment it enters. How could obtaining the Unitary Heavy Water be as simple as Qin Yu thought? Wu Lan could only rely on his 2 hands. A faint black light began to envelop Wu Lan's right hand. Qin Yu remembered that when Wu Lan fought against the Pang Demon Emperor, his entire body and both his hands were also covered with a layer of black light. Wu Lan's right hand that was covered with black light slowly extended into the dark green-colored cold pond. Chapter 447. Qin Yu held his breath as he stared at Wu Lan in the distance. Wu Lan's right hand that was flowing with black light slowly touched the jade-green liquid. However, Wu Lan's right hand actually trembled. Even Wu Lan is unable to withstand this Unitary Heavy Water? Qin Yu's heart was raised. Wu Lan's right hand slightly paused. After a moment, he pulled it back with lightning speed. Wu Lan's body moved continuously. In an instant, he arrived beside Qin Yu. What's wrong, Wu Lan? Qin Yu already had a bad premonition in his heart. Wu Lan's expression was somewhat solemn. At this moment, the skin on Wu Lan's right hand was frozen pale white. Wu Lan's gaze was still fixed on the jade-green cold pond in the distance. He said in a low voice, Qin Yu, I am certain that the jade-green cold pond is not a simple Unitary Heavy Water. What's going on? Qin Yu did not know what had happened at all. He himself only saw Wu Lan's right hand reaching into the cold pond and stopping for a moment. Wu Lan suddenly smiled. He looked at Qin Yu and said with a chuckle, Qin Yu, when I reached my hand into the Unitary Heavy Water, I felt that there was a mysterious thing at the bottom of the Unitary Heavy Water. Mysterious thing? Qin Yu looked at Wu Lan with a confused expression. That's right. If it was only the Unitary Heavy Water, my hands would be able to withstand it. However, when I reached my hand into the cold pond, an extremely sharp cold air corroded my right hand. The cold air emitted from the cold air was even more powerful than the Unitary Heavy Water. The thing that emitted that sharp cold air should be some mysterious thing at the bottom of the cold pond. Right now, even my right hand is injured. Wu Lan laughed at himself. Qin Yu shook his head and said helplessly, It seems that thing does not belong to me. There's no need for me to ask for it. No. Wu Lan smiled and said, Don't give up. It's possible for you to obtain that thing. Tell me about it. Qin Yu's eyes shined. Wu Lan said in detail. Earlier, when I reached my hand into the cold pond, I was certain of one thing. Even a high-quality divine artifact would not be able to withstand it. Thus, it's impossible to obtain the unitary heavy water and the thing inside the cold pond. So there's only one way. Storage space. You said. Zhonglan's realm? Qin Yu frowned. Wu Lan nodded and said with a smile. Qin Yu, think about it. That thing has always been here. Yet, the three great sovereigns of the Dark Star Realm did not take it away at all. Evidently, even the three great sovereigns of the Dark Star Realm were unable to remove the cold pond. As for ordinary storage rings, even if they are storage-type divine artifacts, they can't even withstand the First Essence heavy water, much less the things at the bottom of the First Essence heavy water cold pond. Isn't the Zhonglan's realm also a spatial divine artifact? Qin Yu asked in confusion. Wu Lan sneered. Divine artifact, you truly look down on the Zhonglan's realm too much. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Wu Lan, what do you mean by that? It's useless to tell you now. You'll know when you reach the God realm. Divine artifact? Think about it, the inheritance treasure of the Dragon Clan and the inheritance treasure of the Rock Clan. Which one of them isn't more powerful than a high-grade divine artifact? This Zhonglan's realm is also the most precious treasure that I've ever seen since I was born, said Wu Lan as he sighed. Qin Yu did not ask any more. He knew that Wu Lan did not want to talk about it. If he wanted to talk about it, he would naturally talk about it. You can consider the Zhonglan's realm as a space. This is not a space without any life like a storage ring. This space is a space similar to the cosmic space. Although it's not as high level as the cosmic space, it's still relatively close. As long as you're able to approach the cold pond, you'll be able to use the Zhonglan's realm to directly absorb the cold pond into the Zhonglan's realm, said Wu Lan with certainty. Qin Yu pondered for a moment. He then looked to Wu Lan and asked, in that case, what level of strength would one need to reach in order to approach the cold pond? What level of strength? When one's body is comparable to a high-grade divine artifact, that would be about it, said Wu Lan with a light smile. However, in the immortal devil and demon realm, I reckon that you wouldn't be able to use this sort of treasure. Qin Yu did not think too much about it. In the immortal devil and demon realm, even now, there were not many people that could defeat him. His goal was the divine realm to begin with. After all, Li Er was in the divine realm. Even with Uncle Lan's ability, he was only able to protect Li Er from being forced to do so. One could imagine the difficulties he would face after arriving in the divine realm. Identity, strength, status, regardless of which realm one was in, they were all very important. After all these years of training, Qin Yu naturally understood them very well. He had never thought that once he arrived in the divine realm, Li Er's father would directly give Li Er to him. Everything required his own efforts. High-quality divine artifact, right? Got it. Qin Yu said to Wu Lan with a smile. Wu Lan, thank you for these. I'll send you back to the Zhonglan's realm right away. Wu Lan smiled and nodded. Continue to work hard, Qin Yu. I advise you. It's best for you to get used to moving under great pressure. Wu Lan, what do you mean by that? Qin Yu was puzzled by Wu Lan's advice. Aya, this dark star's gravity is truly unbearable. Qin Yu, let me return to the Zhonglan's realm. Wu Lan changed the topic. Qin Yu felt helpless in his heart. He understood that Wu Lan did not wish to say any more. Soon after, with an intention from Qin Yu, Wu Lan disappeared from the Dark Star. Times, properly train on the Dark Star. Once you've successfully trained, go to the Bewitching God Temple. Qin Yu had a plan in his heart. As long as it was something that would be helpful to him in the divine realm in the future, Qin Yu would strive for it. Qin Yu looked to his surroundings. Sensing the bone-penetrating coldness, he slightly nodded. The conditions here are just right for training. Cold gravity. Soon after, Qin Yu began to run. He was no longer strolling but running. Qin Yu's expression was firm. The muscles on his legs were bulging. With every step he took, he smashed the ground. Qin Yu circled around the jade-green-colored cold pond. With the cold pond as the center, he was unceasingly running in a circle of over 300 meters. This was the limit of the coldness that Qin Yu was currently able to endure. Under the limit of his body, the life elemental energy was unceasingly assimilating into Qin Yu's muscles, allowing Qin Yu's muscles to get used to the coldness. Running, the simplest kind of running. Qin Yu had been running for an entire 3 years. With the assistance of Qin Yu's life elemental energy, his progress in these 3 years was extremely great. His current speed was much faster than before. However, even with this, Qin Yu was still only able to approach 10 meters from the cold pond. Now, let's run with weights. Qin Yu felt that his muscles had improved a lot. Qin Yu cast his gaze to the ground. Under that frightening coldness, the ground of this dark star had already cracked open and formed strips. Qin Yu used both hands to grab one end of the strip, then fiercely tried to break it. But Qin Yu discovered, to his astonishment, that he wasn't able to break it at all. This material is tough enough. Qin Yu suddenly produced the medium-grade divine artifact, Sky Splitter. In terms of toughness, the Sky Splitter was much tougher than the Dark Star material, but it was also much sharper. Qin Yu chopped down with all his might. After expending a great deal of energy, he finally managed to cut it off. This strip was only a finger wide and a finger thick. It could be called a staff. It was so thin that Qin Yu had to rely on the sharpness of his divine artifact to cut it off. This was a dark red strip that was 3 inches long, 1 finger wide, and 1 finger thick. Qin Yu used both hands to try and pick it up. But no matter how much energy Qin Yu used, he wasn't able to pick up this 3-inch long strip. He couldn't even move it. Qin Yu had no idea that this dark red strip, even on an ordinary planet, would weigh more than a mountain. To be able to exist under the gravity of the dark star, one could well imagine how dense this dark red strip was. And in a place like the dark star, where the gravity was so frightening, it was over 100,000 times stronger than Qin Yu's. Although it appeared to be very small, how could Qin Yu possibly move it? Then how am I supposed to carry this weight? Qin Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Immediately after, he looked to the divine sword Sky Splitter in his hand. The divine sword Sky Splitter had already recognized him as its master. In Qin Yu's hand, it didn't have the slightest weight. Gravity restriction. Qin Yu suddenly slapped his head. I actually forgot about the gravity restriction. As he said that, he set up a gravity restriction with both hands. He only increased the gravity by 30%. This gravity restriction secret technique was something that practically every single person in the Dark Star realm knew. When Qin Yu had searched Su Zong's soul, he had also learned about this relatively elementary gravity restriction. It's truly heavy. It's only 30%. Qin Yu felt that his entire body had suddenly sunk. It was as if even standing up had become a burden. Qin Yu suddenly started to laugh. He thought of his childhood. During his childhood, he would also run while carrying weights and frantically train his body. Compared to his childhood, what he was currently standing on was not the mountain path of the East Hazy Mountain. Instead, it was the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star of the Dark Star realm. During his childhood, he would carry weights such as stones on his back. And now, Qin Yu was relying on the gravity restriction of the Dark Star realm to increase the gravity. Although it was only 30% of his body weight. Under the gravity of the Dark Star, it surpassed 100 East Hazy Mountains. The sound of footsteps sounded. Qin Yu resolutely began to run step by step. As he ran, a peaceful smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. As his consciousness grew fuzzy, Qin Yu felt as if the dark star beneath his feet had turned into the mountain path of the East Hazy Mountain. And behind him, a familiar voice seemed to sound. Faster, faster. That voice was the voice of his first teacher, Zhao Yunxing. Qin Yu was running non-stop. Sweat unceasingly emerged from his entire body. The sweat droplets were instantly extinguished by the terrifying gravity. Qin Yu still remembered that before he entered the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star, there was a message in the jade slip that Elder Ji Qiao gave him. Do not use transmission spiritual pearls on the Dark Star. Under that sort of frightening gravitational force, the transmission spiritual pearl would completely collapse and be destroyed. Even Qin Yu's sword Immortal Puppet was pressed down. One could imagine how powerful the gravity was. The sweat droplets did not even have the qualifications to exist. Running step by step. Qin Yu's gaze was incomparably resolute. 100 years later, the gravity restriction on Qin Yu's body had increased his weight by 4 times. Qin Yu was still running. His gaze was still as resolute as before. An entire 100 years of running. Actually, under this sort of pressure, as long as one could stand, one's body would be unceasingly transforming. As for Qin Yu, while running like this, every muscle in his body, with the assistance of the elemental life energy, was rapidly evolving. An entire 100 years of cultivation. Right now, my muscles should have reached 15-star Emperor level. In these several days, Qin Yu was able to sense that his bones and muscles were also slowly transforming under the weight of running. Evidently, his muscles and bones were already at the same level. He looked at the cracked dark star strip beneath his feet. This thing is extremely heavy. Bringing it to the dark star realm can also be considered as showing it to Little Tong and them. Qin Yu used his divine sword Skypiercer to cut off the 3 dark red strips. Although he was unable to use his hands to hold them, he was able to use the Jianglan's realm to collect them. With an intention, Qin Yu collected the 3 dark red strips into the Jianglan's realm. Qin Yu turned around and took a glance at the jade-green-colored cold pond not far away. I can only come back when I reach 17-star Emperor level. Immediately after, Qin Yu began to run toward the interstellar conveying array. This time around, Qin Yu removed the gravity restriction. Qin Yu's running speed was still extremely fast. In merely half a day, Qin Yu arrived at the location of the interstellar conveying array. Not far from the interstellar conveying array, Qin Yu saw Meng Long, who was walking step by step. Evidently, Meng Long had only managed to slowly walk after 100 years of cultivation. Meng Long looked at Qin Yu, who was rapidly running toward him in disbelief. Meng Long, Qin Yu greeted him with a smile. Meng Long stuttered. He pointed at Qin Yu and said in disbelief, You've already succeeded in your cultivation? One must know that the further one cultivated, the harder it would be. Meng Long's own cultivation speed was already extremely fast. However, the plan that Meng Long had for himself was to be able to stand and walk in 100 years, to be able to run normally in 10,000 years, to be able to run with double his body weight in 100,000 years, and to be able to run with double his body weight in 1,000,000 years. His plan was a 1,000,000-year plan. However, what about Qin Yu? How long had it been? How could he not be shocked? He even felt that his brain was shaking. Qin Yu nodded and smiled. That's right. I've succeeded. I think that I can step into the 15-star Emperor-level Dark Star now. If one could run normally while carrying double his body weight, it would be considered a success. However, Qin Yu was now able to carry 4 times his body weight. How is this possible? How could you be so fast? Meng Long was unable to accept this. Qin Yu also knew that his cultivation speed was somewhat frightening. He immediately smiled and said, Perhaps it's because my aptitude is good. Meng Long, I'll be leaving first. Qin Yu did not say anything else and directly walked into the interstellar conveying array. This interstellar conveying array was specially made. Furthermore, it did not require elemental spirit stones to provide energy. Instead, it required the cultivator to pour in their own energy. After all, elemental spirit stones were unable to exist on a dark star like this. After pouring in the gold force, the entire interstellar conveying array lit up. In 100 years, Qin Yu's muscles had completely reached the level of a 15-star Emperor-level dark star. It might even be slightly higher. Seeing Qin Yu disappear, Meng Long still felt a bit dizzy. How is this possible? I saw with my own eyes that his muscles were unable to withstand the pressure at the beginning. Could it be that he was faking it from the beginning? No, that can't be right. What was he faking to me? Meng Long was unable to understand how that Lu Xing was able to cultivate so quickly. Times trial sacred planet. On the transfer planet of the 36 trial planets, the interstellar conveying array on the first floor of the 14-star Emperor level building lit up. It immediately attracted the attention of many people. Lord Lu Xing, hello. Elder Ji Chao said to Qin Yu with a smile. Lord, have you succeeded in your trial? Qin Yu felt a bit helpless in his heart. He knew that if he were to continue cultivating on the dark stars one by one, his astonishing cultivation speed would definitely shock others. Forget it. Who cares what others think? I'll just let them think that I'm a genius. In the end, Qin Yu could only make such a decision. Qin Yu nodded to Elder Ji Chao and said, Right. Lord Lu Xing, please wait a moment. I'll prepare the 14-star Emperor level title plate, said Elder Ji Chao with a smile. Chapter 448. To Qin Yu, this title plate was very important. Firstly, it would allow him to continue training on the 15-star Emperor level Dark Star. Secondly, it was a symbol of his status. It would also allow Qin Yu to move about in the Dark Star realm more easily. Elder Ji Chao took out a triangular prism-shaped crystal pillar. That crystal pillar shot out a misty light that covered Qin Yu. Lord Lu Xing has never received an Emperor-level title plate before? Elder Ji Chao looked to Qin Yu with an astonished expression. According to the rules, when a new Emperor-level title plate is given, the original Emperor-level title plate must be taken back. Qin Yu had seen the jade strip before. Thus, he knew about this matter. He explained, I have never trained on the Dark Star before. So that's the case. Elder Ji Chao nodded with a smile. However, he was still shocked in his heart. After that, Elder Ji Chao took out a title plate that resembled a star diamond and handed it to Qin Yu. Milord, this is the 14-star Emperor-level title plate. Milord, you can drip your blood on it to recognize it as your master. Qin Yu received the title plate. The title plate was somewhat transparent. It was emitting 3 different colors. On the front side of the title plate was the word Emperor. On the back side was the word 14. After Qin Yu dripped his blood on the title plate, he absorbed it into his body. Elder Ji Chao, farewell, Qin Yu said and then walked out of the entrance. Many of the bystanders hurriedly opened up a path for him. As they watched Qin Yu walk toward the 15-star Emperor level building, this group of people began to discuss among themselves. On one of the 3 great sacred planets of the Dark Star realm, the Gold Punishment Star. During the period when Qin Yu was training, the new Gold Punishment Lord of the Dark Star realm had ascended to the throne. Furthermore, he had made it public. At this moment, the Gold Punishment Lord and a group of people were gathered in a large hall in the Gold Punishment sect. The Gold Punishment Lord sat on the master seat. There were a total of 6 people on the guest seats. At this moment, a person stood up and reported respectfully. Your Majesty, news has arrived from the trial star. Of the 2 lords that entered the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star back then, one has come out. It's Lord Lu Xing, Lu Xing. He is now a member of the Deep Mulberry Star. In the past, he was an obscure interstellar cultivator, said the Gold Punishment Lord indifferently. The new Gold Punishment Lord's real name was Xing Yuan. Originally, he could be considered to be an obscure ascetic cultivator. Later on, he emerged from the 18-star Emperor-level Dark Star. With his overwhelming strength, he unquestionably became the new generation's Gold Punishment Lord. The Gold Punishment Lord Xing Yuan continued. According to the information sent by Wenfeng, this Lu Xing's strength should not be inferior to Wenfeng's. In that case, why did this Lu Xing enter the 14-star Emperor-level Dark Star? I reckon that this Lu Xing's strength is at the 15-star Emperor level. According to our intelligence, This Lu Xing has never cultivated on a dark star before. Perhaps he is not confident. Thus, he decided to cultivate on the 14-star Emperor level dark star for a period of time before entering the 15-star Emperor level dark star. A white-bearded old man said with a smile on his face. The gold punishment Lord Xing Yuan nodded and said with a smile. That makes sense. For this Lu Xing to possess such strength, it would appear that he will be the next gold punishment lord candidate. Humph. A cold snort sounded from the left side of the gold punishment lord. It was a cold and detached middle-aged man. The gold punishment Lord Xing Yuan lightly smiled and said, Vice Sect Master, you do not have to worry too much about it. Since he has reached the 15-star Emperor level, he is the next gold punishment lord candidate. However, with your 17-star Emperor level strength, is there a need to worry about him? Merely, you are the same as me. We do not know when the divine tribulation will descend. Once the divine tribulation occurs, the position of gold punishment lord will be fought over by Lu Xing and Wen Feng. The cold and detached middle-aged man nodded. This person was one of the 3 vice sect masters of the gold punishment sect. His strength was second only to the gold punishment Lord Xing Yuan, a 17-star Emperor level expert. A gentle breeze brushed past. The countless soft branches of the large tree fluttered in the wind. While drinking wine, Qin Yu looked at the scenery outside through the window. The scenery of the Trial Sacred Planet was pretty good. After Qin Yu exited the 14-star Emperor level Dark Star, he did not immediately start training. Instead, he first ate and drank in the dining area on the first floor of the 15-star Emperor level building. There was an empty circle around Qin Yu's seat. There were over 100 people in the dining area. However, all of them consciously kept their distance from Qin Yu. This was their respect toward the strong. That Lord Lu Xing, do you see him? He's the one by the window. I've heard that Lord Lu Xing had only trained in the 14-star Emperor level Dark Star for over 100 years before coming out. That speed is truly astonishing. A bald-headed man exclaimed in a low voice. Perhaps Lord Lu Xing's strength was very strong to begin with. A young man by the side casually said. Not necessarily. The bald-headed man said to the surrounding people in a low voice. How about this? Let's make a bet on how many years it will take for Lord Lu Xing to enter the 16-star Emperor level Dark Star to train. That means he's a genius. At the very least, 10,000 years. Someone said. The bald-headed man smiled and said, In that case, let's make a bet on whether Lord Lu Xing will need 10,000 years or less to reach the 16-star Emperor level Dark Star from 15 stars or more. Very well. Who will be the banker? Lower your voice. My lord has stood up. Seeing Qin Yu stand up, the entire dining area immediately quieted down. Qin Yu smiled and walked toward the attendant. Bill. That attendant looked at Qin Yu with a trace of adoration in his eyes. He said respectfully, Lord Lu Xing, there is no need for you to pay the bill. Since Lord wants to enter the 15-star Emperor level Dark Star to train, you are qualified to eat here for free. It seems that only those who possess a 15-star Emperor level title plate are qualified, right? Qin Yu was puzzled. That attendant shook his head and said, Elder said that there is no need. He believes that you possess the strength of a 15-star Emperor level. Of course, those who dare to enter the 15-star Emperor level Dark Star. How many of them did not possess sufficient confidence to enter? Entering without sufficient confidence was no different from committing suicide. Qin Yu walked out of the dining area and entered the main hall. A middle-aged man who was sitting cross-legged next to the teleportation array stood up. He walked toward Qin Yu and said respectfully, Lord Lu Xing, I am the elder in charge of the affairs here. Activate the teleportation array. Qin Yu was very straightforward. On the 15-star Emperor level Dark Star. This time around, it was not as miserable as the last time. When Qin Yu was teleported here, he only felt that his body had slightly sunk. That familiar feeling of heavy pressure had returned. There's actually another person on this planet. Qin Yu's soul power could clearly sense that there was a woman about 20 miles away from here. She's from the White Profound sect. Qin Yu could clearly sense the ice-cold aura emitted from that woman. It is truly rare for a woman to be this powerful. Qin Yu gasped in admiration in his heart. Qin Yu did not waste any time. He immediately set up a gravity restriction and doubled his weight. Amen. Qin Yu suddenly recalled something. Something's wrong. The gravity of these 18 Emperor-level dark stars is gradually increasing. The amount of pressure they can withstand is precisely equivalent to 1-star Emperor level to 18-star Emperor level. However, since that's the case, a single dark star would be sufficient. As long as one cultivates on this dark star and uses the gravity restriction to gradually increase one's weight, it would be sufficient. Why would the seniors of the Dark Star realm go through so much trouble to find 18 Emperor-level dark stars? Qin Yu was unable to understand. Forget about it. I'm not going to think about it anymore. However, Qin Yu did not know that the seniors of the Dark Star realm did not spend much effort to find these 18 Emperor-level dark stars. Furthermore, with these 18 Emperor-level dark stars, one would be able to better determine the strength of some people. Only then would the 3 great sacred stars be able to more accurately record the strength of some people. Qin Yu had also decided on one thing. He would train on this 15-star Emperor-level dark star. All he needed to do was to continuously increase his weight. There would be no need for him to enter the other dark stars. Cultivate. Qin Yu took a deep breath. Then, he began a long period of cultivation. Experts were lonely. Qin Yu's strength was also accumulated through a long period of loneliness. On this dark star, Qin Yu began to cultivate by himself. 800 years later, Qin Yu, who is only wearing a pair of shorts, is standing upside down with his upper body naked. The 10 fingers of his hands are firmly grasping the ground like the roots of an old tree. His entire body is supported by only the 10 fingers of his hands. At this moment, Qin Yu is still carrying 4 times his body weight. Furthermore, this was a 15-star Emperor-level dark star. Qin Yu understood that his hands would be his strongest weapon in the future. Thus, he must attach great importance to the training of his fingers. Is a high-quality divine artifact truly the limit? While Qin Yu was training, he was still pondering in his heart. Was the 9th layer of the 9 transformations dark gold body the limit? Right at this moment, Qin Yu frowned. Then, his face was filled with ecstasy. After so many years, my soul realm has finally reached the Great Circle. Qin Yu immediately stopped training and sat down cross-legged. Within his boundless sea of consciousness, Qin Yu's soul was unceasingly rolling. Now, Qin Yu's soul was like a thick liquid that was unceasingly rolling. At the same time, sharp sword-like golden light would be emitted from the thick liquid from time to time. According to the 3 souls' 9 refinements, when the soul realm reaches the Great Circle, it can become a substantial existence. A figure appeared in Qin Yu's sea of consciousness. His appearance was exactly the same as Qin Yu. This silhouette was sitting cross-legged. His 2 hands were forming the 3 souls' 9 refinements with a total of 108 hand seals. When Qin Yu started to form the first hand seal, his soul started to flow in an orderly manner like mercury. As the seals were formed one after another, the mercury-like thick liquid flowed faster and faster. When the last seal was formed, boundless sea of consciousness began to tremble. The figure that was sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like torches. Close. Within the crazily trembling sea of consciousness, rays of golden light suddenly lit up. Immediately, his sea of consciousness stopped trembling and returned to its previous tranquility. It could be clearly seen that a round Jin Dan was spinning in Qin Yu's sea of consciousness. That was precisely the soul that had reached the Great Circle. Is this the soul of an ordinary true god? Qin Yu looked at the round Jin Dan that was emitting boundless brilliance in his sea of consciousness. The round Jin Dan was so dazzling. Suddenly, an even more astonishing green light shone from another place. The green light immediately covered the golden light of the Jin Dan. His sea of consciousness turned completely green. And the thing that was emitting the boundless green light was an almost transparent teardrop. Lu Xing's teardrop. Qin Yu was astonished. Lu Xing's teardrop suddenly shot out a rainbow-colored light. That rainbow-colored light directly shot into Qin Yu's soul, Jin Dan. At this moment, Qin Yu's sea of consciousness was suddenly filled with a large amount of information. These are... Qin Yu was immediately attracted. Soon after, Qin Yu sat cross-legged on the surface of the dark star, not moving at all. Qin Yu began the longest training he had ever done since he was born. Chapter 449. Within Qin Yu's boundless sea of consciousness, Lu Xing's tear was emitting an endless amount of green light. It was so dazzling, and the green light covered everything. Lu Xing's tear was currently emitting a seven-colored brilliance into Qin Yu's soul, Jin Dan. As the seven-colored brilliance entered Qin Yu's soul, Jin Dan, Lu Xing's tear was actually decreasing at an indiscernible speed. Just as Qin Yu's soul, Jin Dan, was absorbing the seven-colored brilliance, Qin Yu's consciousness fell into a special situation. An endless sea. At this moment, Qin Yu seemed to have become a drop of sea water, connected with the endless sea water. He felt the vastness of the sea when it was calm, felt the fury of the sea when it was raging, felt the endless depth of the sea. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Yu even believed that he was really a drop of water. Suddenly, the sea disappeared. Qin Yu entered a time of plants. There were all kinds of flowers and plants, all kinds of varieties. There were so many that Qin Yu was unable to describe them, and Qin Yu was just an ordinary grass among them. Growing, withering, then sprouting with vitality, continuing to grow, then withering once again. Reincarnation, one reincarnation after another. Within the reincarnation, Qin Yu suddenly felt his surroundings change once again. Everything around him was nothingness. This was outer space. Qin Yu could see the stars in the distance, the blazing sun, and the barren planets. The stars were suspended eternally in outer space, as if they would never change. At times, Qin Yu would become one of the countless weapons. At times, Qin Yu would become a speck of dust in the air. At times, Qin Yu would step into the endless void, and at times, Qin Yu would enter an endless sea of flames. Amidst the layers of mysterious experiences, Qin Yu did not know how much time had passed. As if countless years had passed, a voice sounded. "Child, this is what I left behind before I died, and it contains my comprehension of the universe. You can feel as much as you want. I, Zhuo Qiumei, have never accepted a disciple in my entire life. You can be considered my disciple. However, you must remember, before you completely comprehend everything that I have imparted to you, you must not mention my name to others. My disciple, I hope that you can live a more relaxed and happier life than me." That deep and gentle voice, Qin Yu's consciousness was hypnotized. Mother. Qin Yu could vaguely hear his mother's voice. That kind of tranquility made him feel very comfortable. He hoped that the voice would never stop it. However, the voice was gone in just a short moment. Once the voice disappeared, Qin Yu's consciousness was awakened. Qin of the world of Zhuo Qiumei's words was Zhuo Qiuqiu's words of the world of life of her was of the world of the dead. Of the of that of life of life, of the life of the dead, of the of life as God of the of life of the dead, of the dead. Qin Yu could still clearly remember the last words of Zhuo Qiumei. Qin Yu could not understand at all. Who would be willing to kill a person who possessed a voice that could cause one's soul to feel tranquil and peaceful? Is it the comprehension of the universe? Qin Yu could clearly sense that within his soul, there was something similar to the origin of the universe. That was what this woman called Zhuo Qiumei had left for him. Let my body naturally cultivate according to the 9 steps dark gold body and the techniques of the gold punishment sect. Qin Yu's consciousness sank into the dazzling rainbow light within his soul. Within Qin Yu's mind, Lu Xing's tear was no longer emitting that rainbow light. The volume of Lu Xing's tear was now one size smaller than it had been in the past. Qin Yu had experienced so many scenes earlier. It seemed like a very long time had passed, but in truth, it had only been a few days. At this moment, Lu Xing's tear that had shrunk one size smaller had once again fused with Qin Yu's soul, Jin Dan. As for Qin Yu, his consciousness was immersed within the rainbow light within the depths of his soul. He was comprehending the comprehensions that Zhuo Qiumei had left for him. This was the most precious thing that Zhuo Qiumei had left for Qin Yu through the use of Lu Xing's tear. Qin Yu did not know how long it would take for him to comprehend all of this. Just like this, Qin Yu's consciousness entered the deepest level of comprehension and training. Qin Yu sat cross-legged on the dark star. The 27,000 marks were integrated into the depths of Qin Yu's bones and muscles. They were unceasingly absorbing elemental spirit energy and tempering Qin Yu's bones and muscles. As for the martial techniques of the Gold Punishment sect, they were also constantly circulating and absorbing an endless amount of gold attribute energy into Qin Yu's body. Time passed. Qin Yu was in the deepest level of cultivation. He did not know how much time had passed. Inside the Jianglan's realm, on top of a snowy peak, Hou Fei, Kuro and Wu Lan were together. Hou Fei was wearing a golden gown. His fiery eyes were flickering with a trace of helplessness. Beside Hou Fei was the white-clothed, grave and stern Kuro. As for Wu Lan, he was sitting to the side and drinking wine. Monkey, what's going on with Big Brother this time? I even sent him a mind-voice transmission but he didn't respond at all. Kuro slightly frowned. Qin Yu's cultivation this time around was truly too long. It was so long that Kuro and Hou Fei were both worried. Kuro and Qin Yu, the two brothers that grew up together, possessed a special connection with each other. Kuro also nodded his head. Wu Lan, who stood to the side, said helplessly, "You two brats' cultivation speed is so fast that I can't even reach level 9 Demon Emperor earlier. Yi Chu and Wushu too, you've been training too hard these years." Hou Fei and Kuro were both embarrassed. The speed of their cultivation had greatly impacted Yi Chu and Ao Wushu. The cold and unfeeling Ao Wushu did not bother to say any superfluous words. Instead, he was frantically cultivating by himself. As for Yi Chu, he was also cultivating diligently. Sigh, let's wait slowly. I wonder when Big Brother will finish his cultivation. Hou Fei said helplessly. Kuro smiled. These years, I haven't accompanied Ling much. Now, I'll accompany Ling and educate Little Tong and Guofan. Currently, Qin Yu's consciousness was completely immersed in it. He was unceasingly comprehending and absorbing. He was like an extremely hungry traveler as he frantically devoured and absorbed the comprehensions left behind by Zhuo Qiumei. Qin Yu's body was faintly emitting a golden light. Even the bones and tendons within his body were faintly emitting a dark golden light. This was clearly the sign that he had reached the 9th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body. Before Qin Yu's consciousness began to train at a deeper level, Qin Yu had already reached the 8th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body. In the following 2,000 years, even though he did not actively train, Qin Yu's body was still able to reach the 9th stage after a long period of time. After a very long time, Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 substantial rays of light shot out from his eyes. It's already been 3,000 years. Qin Yu calculated in his heart. He was shocked to discover that he had actually trained for 3,000 years. Now that Qin Yu thought about it, the training at a deeper level of consciousness seemed to have happened in merely a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years had already passed. Exactly who is this Zhuo Qiumei? The comprehensions she left behind towards the cosmic space are so astonishing. In these 3,000 years, I have only managed to comprehend 10 to 20% of it. However, merely 10 to 20% of it is already 10 to 100 times stronger than before. Qin Yu stood up. Dark star gravity? This sort of pure gravity, even if it were 10 times stronger, it would still be useless against me. The surface of Qin Yu's body suddenly emitted the power of gold. The power of gold floated around Qin Yu's body. It was as if a lump of golden light had enveloped Qin Yu. As for Qin Yu, he was actually floating. That's right, floating. Furthermore, he was floating on a dark star. A 15-star Emperor-level dark star. Even a level 16 dark star Emperor-level dark star expert would at most be able to jump around on it. Wanting to float on it was practically an impossible task. Only an 18-star Emperor-level expert would be able to do so. However, the current Qin Yu's strength had yet to reach 18-star Emperor level. He had only just stepped into 17-star Emperor level. However, by relying on his comprehension towards the cosmic space, Qin Yu was able to easily change the space surrounding his body. He caused the gravity of the dark star to decrease by several tens of times. The laws are the most basic and most powerful strength. Qin Yu had already comprehended in his heart. However, Qin Yu also understood that when two people with similar comprehension towards the spatial laws were to fight against each other, in the end, it would still depend on the most primitive strength. However, the comprehension of the laws was extremely important. Ridiculous, ridiculous. Lu Xing's finger techniques, what 10,000 layered fingers, what 1,000 illusionary fingers, what 10 termination fingers, and that sky-piercing finger. Truly ridiculous, truly ridiculous. Qin Yu laughed at himself. Viewing the sky from the bottom of a well, one would not be able to see how the sky was. Only after leaving the well would one feel that the sky was boundless. Qin Yu was exactly like that. Back then, his comprehension towards the cosmic space was merely the comprehension of an emperor-level expert from the immortal, devil and demon realm. When he slightly sensed the cosmic space, he immediately felt that it was extraordinary. Furthermore, there was the term, domain. He was truly viewing the sky from the bottom of a well. Qin Yu was certain that it was the Pang Demon Emperor that was fighting against him again. Merely by relying on his comprehension towards the spatial laws, Qin Yu was able to greatly decrease the speed of the Pang Demon Emperor. He was even able to turn the fastest person in the immortal, devil and demon realm into the slowest among the three emperors of the demon realm. Lu Xing's finger techniques are fine, I merely need to know the sky-piercing finger. Qin Yu extended his right index finger. A ray of gold force was shot out from Qin Yu's finger. Qi! That golden finger ray seemed to have pierced through the layers of space and directly shot into the ground of the dark star. Even with how tough the ground of the dark star was, a half-meter deep hole was actually pierced through it. Ha ha! Qin Yu laughed. When I was on the 14-star Emperor-level dark star, I used the Divine Sword Sky Piercer and only managed to cut out a small piece of the dark star's substance with great difficulty. Yet now, a simple finger is 10 times more powerful than a divine artifact. Qin Yu did not use the black hole to accelerate his finger. Qin Yu had used his comprehension towards the spatial laws to shatter the surrounding space of the finger ray. Thus, wherever the finger ray passed through, even the dark star substance was pierced half a meter deep. Merely, Qin Yu's comprehension was still not enough. If it were that Suochomei, then Qin Yu reckoned that with a wave of her hand, the entire dark star would be turned into ashes. I'm still very weak. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Weak. Was Qin Yu really weak? Merely by relying on his current body that was comparable to a high-quality divine artifact, it was likely that not many people would be able to defeat him. However, Qin Yu's strongest aspect was still his comprehension towards the spatial laws. Although he had only comprehended 10 to 20% of what Suochomei had left for him. In the entire immortal, devil and demon realm, perhaps only people like the Dragon Emperor who possessed an inherited treasure would be able to resist Qin Yu with their tortoise-like defense. I reckon that my current body is already 17-star Emperor level. It's not long before I reach 18-star Emperor level. There's no need to rush to train. Qin Yu prepared to leave the dark star. However, after taking 2 steps, Qin Yu opened his eyes wide. 3,000 years. Fei and them have already trained in the Zhonglan's realm for 30,000 years. 30,000 years. Don't tell me that the two of them have already undergone the divine tribulation. After that, Qin Yu disappeared from the dark star and entered the Zhonglan's realm. Chapter 450. Inside the Zhonglan's realm. Kuro, Bai Ling, his daughter Hei Tong, his son-in-law Guo Fan and them were currently having a meal together. Other than their family, Guo Fan's master Wu Lan was also present. Of course, Hou Fei was also present. This large group of people were happily eating and drinking. As for Hou Fei, he was currently boasting with Hei Tong. "Little Tong, let your second uncle tell you, there are not many people in the immortal realm, devil realm and demon realm that could match me. Who would dare to take my heaven-startling 3-stick strikes head-on?" Hou Fei blinked his eyes complacently. Hou Fei's heaven-startling 3-stick strikes was indeed powerful. Especially with the assistance of the black stick, given to him by Uncle Lon, its attack power was so strong that even Kuroa's defensive scale feathers did not dare to take it head-on. From this, one could tell how powerful it was. "You have the heaven-startling 3-stick strikes, but my father also has it," Hei Tong said. Your father learned it from me." Hou Fei raised his head and said. Kuro merely smiled. At this moment, he did not dare to say anything. Indeed, 80% of his spear technique was learned from Hou Fei's stick technique. The other 20% was created by himself. Hei Tong laughed and said, "Second uncle is truly powerful. However, can you teach my big brother Guo Fan that heaven-startling 3-stick strikes of yours?" Little Tong. Bai Ling reprimanded her in a bad mood. Whenever Hei Tong saw someone strong, she would have that person teach her husband his best move. Guo Fan laughed and said, "Little Tong, it's my lack of comprehension. Furthermore, I feel that it is enough for me to learn the fist technique that my master taught me. It's enough to specialize in it. Little Tong, you must learn more from Guo Fan." Wu Lan lectured. At the beginning, Wu Lan had only given Guo Fan some guidance. However, as time passed, he discovered that Guo Fan, who appeared simple and honest on the surface, was actually extremely meticulous and possessed extremely high comprehension. The speed at which he learned his fist technique was also extremely fast. "Where's eldest Uncle Yi Chu? Could it be that he's not coming today?" Hei Tong said with a frown. Wu Lan smiled and said, "Oh Yi Chu, your father and your second uncle are currently able to step into the level 9 Demon Emperor realm at any time. They are only controlling their power for the sake of waiting for your eldest uncle. As for your eldest uncle Yetsu, he is still a level 8 Demon Emperor. Naturally, he would have to work hard." Haha. Even if you work hard, you don't have to work so hard for such a short period of time. A deep voice rang out. Yi Chu, whose body was like a mountain, strode over and sat down. "Little Tong is still the best. She still misses me even now." Hei Tong obediently nodded her head. Soon after, she looked to the surroundings. It's one thing for Master to be in closed-door training and not come. However, didn't Uncle Wushu just reach level 9 Demon Emperor a few years ago? Why aren't they here? He's not used to crowds, Yi Chu explained. Oh, Uncle Wushu doesn't like bustling places. Hei Tong nodded. Suddenly, Hei Tong looked to the distance in a pleasant surprise. "Ah, Uncle Wushu has come. How is that possible? Do you think that I don't know Voidless temperament?" Yi Chu said confidently. Kuro, Hou Fei, and the others also looked into the distance. "Brother, you're finally back." Only then did Yi Chu look over in shock. "Qin Yu? Wasn't that the case?" The person who came was precisely Qin Yu. Qin Yu walked over and said, "I'm sorry. I've trained for 3,000 years this time around. I've made everyone wait for a long time." Soon after, Qin Yu looked to Hou Fei and Kuro. "Fei, Xiao Hei, your souls have both reached level 9 Demon Emperor. Not bad. Even your martial power has reached the limit of level 8 Demon Emperor. Fortunately, you've yet to undergo the divine tribulation and ascend." Hou Fei stood up, curled his lips and said, "What's there to be happy about? Mixed Hairbird and I have already reached our current level long ago. If it wasn't for the fact that we've been suppressing our martial power, we would have already reached level 9 Demon Emperor. Likely, we would have already reached the divine realm." Monkey. Kuro frowned. Ho Fei's words caused Kuro to feel disgusted. The reason why we were able to cultivate so quickly was because Big Brother allowed us to cultivate in the Jianglan's realm. If we were outside, I reckon that we would still not have reached our current level. Ho Fei hurriedly smiled apologetically. Mixed Hairbird, I was merely joking. Enough, stop messing around. Qin Yu stopped the two of them with a smile. It's been some time since your souls reached level 9 Demon Emperor. It seems that your speed of improvement is quite fast. I wonder how your actual strength is? Ho Fei said confidently. Strength? I have now completely comprehended the heaven-startling 3-stick strikes. My current strength is definitely not inferior to the Great Ape Emperor. What do you think my strength is? Big Brother, you're feeling inferior now, right? Qin Yu smiled. He then looked to Kuro. Now, Blackfeather felt more confident. The Blackfeather battle armor, formed from my feathers, should have defensive power close to that of a high-grade divine artifact armor. Given my agility and speed, combined with the Cloud Piercer Spear, I should be able to withstand it. With my speed and the Cloud Piercing Spear, Big Brother, I believe that there are not many people in the immortal, devil and demon realm that can defeat me. Although Kuro did not say it explicitly, his meaning was very clear. He was also confident in defeating Qin Yu. Each and every one of you is very confident, Qin Yu said with a chuckle. Eldest uncle, second uncle and father are all in the Jianglan's realm. They've trained for a much longer time than you. Even if you lose, it doesn't mean much. Hei Tong comforted him with good intentions. Qin Yu merely smiled helplessly. Xiao Hei, Fei, let me sense the progress that you've made in these past days. Come, attack me. Qin Yu said. Big Brother, you want the two of us to fight against you? Ho Fei opened his eyes wide. Kuro also looked to Qin Yu in disbelief. Both of them were extremely powerful. For Qin Yu to be able to defeat one of them was already pretty good. Two of them. Qin Yu, Fei's heaven-startling 3-stick strikes are extremely powerful. Even a high-quality divine artifact would not be able to withstand it. This is also the reason why the Great Ape Emperor was able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Pang Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor. Wu Lon reminded. Wu Lon knew all of Qin Yu's comprehensions. However, he did not believe that Qin Yu would be able to improve that much in 3,000 years. After all, in the divine realm, some experts would enter seclusion training for tens of thousands of years. However, what Wu Lon didn't know was that Qin Yu was not painstakingly comprehending without a clue. Instead, he was directly comprehending the results of the cosmic spatial laws left behind by Zhuoqiumei. This was like collecting diamonds. Other people would search the entire world for each diamond. However, what about Qin Yu? A large pile of diamonds was placed in front of Qin Yu. As long as Qin Yu extended his hand, he would be able to obtain them. Their speed was simply not on the same level. Qin Yu's 3,000 years of cultivation was likely even more powerful than some of the Divine Realm's experts' 30 million years of cultivation. Don't worry, go ahead. Qin Yu's body started to emit a faint golden light. I have already reached the 9th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body. My entire body is comparable to a high-quality divine artifact. It would be hard for you two to injure me. Ho Fei and Kuro glanced at each other and then nodded. Big Brother, in that case, we'll have to offend you. Ho Fei excitedly licked his lips. It wasn't that Ho Fei had never fought against Qin Yu before. However, whenever he fought against Qin Yu, he would always be trampled upon. Thus, Ho Fei also wanted to trample on Qin Yu. Big Brother, you're looking to be trampled upon. You can't blame me. Ho Fei had an excited smile on his face. As for Kuro, he held his cloud-piercing spear with one hand and stared at Qin Yu. From time to time, a trace of excitement would flash through his eyes. The three brothers were going to spar for the first time after 3,000 years. Would Ho Fei and Kuro turn the tables and trample on Qin Yu, or would they still be oppressed by Qin Yu? Eldest uncle, you can do it. Eldest uncle, you can do it. I support you. Hei Tong clapped her hands and encouraged Qin Yu. At the same time, she consoled him. Eldest uncle, it's fine even if you lose. After all, there are two of them. Qin Yu could only smile. Soon after, Qin Yu's body moved and arrived in midair. As for Hou Fei and Kuro, they also teleported into midair. Let's do it, Qin Yu said. Stop. Hou Fei suddenly shouted. What's wrong? Qin Yu looked to Hou Fei. As for Hou Fei, he said, Big brother, this is the Zhonglan's realm, your territory. You are completely capable of controlling everything in the Zhonglan's realm. Thus, I request that you do not control the Zhonglan's realm to deal with us. You can only use your own abilities. Kuro also looked to Qin Yu. They had also realized what was going on. Okay, I guarantee that I will not control the Zhonglan's realm. Qin Yu replied. However, he was feeling helpless in his heart. Not control the Zhonglan's realm? Even if he truly did not control the Zhonglan's realm, once he used his comprehension of the spatial laws to distort space and so on, it was likely that his two brothers would also think that he was using the Zhonglan's realm. Big brother, eat my stick. Hou Fei roared. A black stick silhouette merely flashed twice before it pierced through space and arrived before Qin Yu. Faced with this attack, Qin Yu merely slightly swayed his body and easily dodged it. Amen? Impossible. Hou Fei's expression changed. He was very confident in his stick techniques. It was one thing for Qin Yu to use his body to block it. However, Qin Yu actually easily dodged it. Chi! The black spearhead instantly arrived before Qin Yu's eyes. This spear's usage of the spatial laws is pretty good. However, it seems that Xiao Hei only knows how to use it, but not why. Qin Yu's body once again moved and dodged the spear. Qin Yu was able to use his comprehension of the spatial laws on any of his moves. Movement techniques, spear techniques, finger techniques, leg techniques, fist techniques. One technique was equivalent to 10,000 techniques. Hou Fei and Kuro had only comprehended the spear techniques. They knew that the spear techniques would be very powerful. However, they did not know why the spear techniques were so powerful. Impossible. Hou Fei's eyes were filled with shock. Kuro also stared at Qin Yu in shock. Soon after, Hou Fei and Kuro glanced at each other and slightly nodded. The black stick and the cloud-piercing spear attacked Qin Yu at almost the same time. The stick silhouettes and spear silhouettes were unceasingly attacking Qin Yu. As for Qin Yu, it was as if he was playing a game as he easily dodged them. Wu Lon, Hei Tong and them who were below were all shocked. Impossible. Big brother, you're controlling the Zhonglan's realm to change your body's position, right? Hou Fei stood in the air while holding the black stick. He looked to Qin Yu and said, Big brother, what you're doing is wrong. Kuro also held his spear and looked to Qin Yu. I said that if I don't rely on the Zhonglan's realm, I would definitely not use it. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Sure enough, it was as he had anticipated. This was what Hou Fei and Kuro had guessed. But your dodging is too abnormal. Hou Fei found it hard to accept. Qin Yu smiled and said, It's not that my dodging is abnormal. That's because your stick technique could only be considered as ordinary. Heaven startling 72 stick strikes, Heaven startling 36 stick strikes, Heaven startling 18 stick strikes, Heaven startling 9 stick strikes, Heaven startling 3 stick strikes and Heaven startling single stick strike. I have also seen it in the inherited prohibited area. I have seen it clearly. Qin Yu extended his hand. An ordinary iron stick appeared in his hand. The spatial laws contained within the heaven-startling single-stick strike were extremely rare. Compared to Qin Yu's current comprehension, it was much less. In the past, Qin Yu did not understand it. However, now that he had comprehended a portion of the spatial laws and recalled that stick technique, he immediately understood it. Big brother, what are you planning to do? Hou Fei saw that Qin Yu was holding the stick and had a guess in his heart. Merely, even he himself felt that guess to be too crazy. Qin Yu held the long stick with one hand. Immediately after, The long stick in his hand trembled. This is the heaven-startling 72 stick strikes. Qin Yu's figure was extremely fast. Stick silhouettes that filled the sky were continuously displayed. The heaven-startling 72 stick strikes were displayed in a natural and unrestrained manner. When Qin Yu displayed this stick technique, he did not possess the imposing manner that Hou Fei possessed. However, Hou Fei knew that Qin Yu's stick technique had reached the level of returning to one's natural state. This is the heaven-startling 36 stick strikes. Every single one of Qin Yu's moves were clearly executed. That final chain of 36 overlapping waves even burst forth with an astonishing energy. Hou Fei muttered in a low voice. Too crazy. Don't continue. I don't even dare to continue watching. This is the heaven-startling 3 stick strikes. Qin Yu had already displayed the 5th set of the heaven-startling 3 stick strikes. Qin Yu had only used the power of gold to protect the iron stick. After all, an ordinary iron stick would not be able to withstand this kind of stick technique. 3 explosive sounds could be heard and cracks appeared in the entire space. Monkey, the heaven-startling 3 stick strikes executed by Big Brother is even easier than yours. Furthermore, it is much more powerful. Kuro looked at Hou Fei. However, Hou Fei stared at Qin Yu. Don't tell me that you even know the heaven-startling single-stick strike. After displaying the heaven-startling 3 stick strikes, Qin Yu glanced at Hou Fei and Kuro. Then, he smiled and said, "This is the heaven-startling single-stick strike." Qin Yu held the long stick in his right hand and directly thrust it forward. When Qin Yu thrust out the long stick, everyone who was watching felt that Qin Yu's figure had become blurry. Even the long stick had become blurry. 7 or 8 afterimages had appeared. When the blurry afterimages overlapped, Qin Yu's long stick had also stopped. Pang! The space where the long stick struck began to tremble. The tremors continued to travel far away until they reached a distant mountain. That mountain only trembled slightly before turning into dust. Wherever the long stick pointed, everything turned into dust. Did you see it clearly? The iron stick in Qin Yu's hand had turned into nothingness as he smiled at his 2 brothers. Hou Fei and Kuro looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. What a monstrous big brother! Hou Fei felt bitter in his heart. He looked up at Qin Yu and said helplessly, "Big brother, I cultivated here for 30,000 years and only learned the heaven-startling 3 stick strikes. You didn't cultivate much and only spent 3,000 years outside. You even know the heaven-startling single stick strike." Kuro looked at Qin Yu's figure and thought to himself, "Big brother is still so strong. It seems that I need to work even harder." Actually, your stick skills have already entered the Tao. It's just that 1 Tao is equivalent to 10,000 Taos. As long as you have enough understanding of the universe space, you can learn stick skills, spear skills, and fist skills. The movement skill I used just now relied on my understanding of space. When I have enough understanding of space, I can even shatter the space in a certain area. As for the people in that area, they will naturally be crushed. This is the power of the Tao. Qin Yu explained. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.